Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most charming FNAF fan games the community has ever seen. From lovable characters to unique art styles and worlds overflowing with personality, these games have a special quality that's hard to put into words. Some of these aren't just fun to play, they're impossible not to smile while experiencing them, so let's get into it. I want you to think about the last time you've played a FNAF fan game that has introduced a mechanic you've never seen before. Maybe you think of Junior's deduction game mechanic. Maybe you think of Teelerland's upgrade system. Or maybe you dig really deep and think of One Night at Flumpty's 3 moving camera buttons. Whatever it may be, I'm sure you can agree that seeing a new mechanic is always interesting, and in my opinion is the most enjoyable part of playing FNAF games. I love exploring what people can come up with. Even if the new mechanics are frustrating, I still love them. The game we'll be covering today introduces a mechanic like nothing I've ever seen before. A game so obscure I'd never heard of it, and I'm willing to bet you've never heard of it either. The game we'll be covering today is After Hours at Cody's, a so far one-off FNAF fan game that introduces one of the most interesting game mechanics I've ever seen, while also telling one of the most gruesome and depraved stories I've ever witnessed. You're not going to want to miss what we have in store today, so let's dive into the world of After Hours at Cody's. Before each night, we get a small cutscene to show us a little bit of what we're getting into. In the Night 1 cutscene, we see a mysterious black figure cause one of the animatronics to awaken. And I'm not gonna lie, the animatronic that wakes up is a bit of a bad bitch, I'm not gonna lie to you. But with that, we do start Night 1. Night 1 obviously introduces one threat. But before we can start talking about that threat, we need to talk about the mechanic in this game that makes it so unique: the cameras. Taking a look at them, you'll notice that there's a long bar in the center of the map with one small section of it being red and a small rectangle quickly moving back and forth across it. If you haven't figured out what these cameras are about to do yet, then let me tell you. When you switch cameras, you will need to time the camera switch up with when the small moving rectangle is inside of the red bar. If you mistime it, then the camera you clicked on will load very slowly. And this is a very fast-paced game. If you time it properly, the camera will load almost instantly. This is such an interesting mechanic that I originally thought I was going to hate. But it's because of this mechanic that I've actually put After Hours at Cody's in my top 5 favorite FNAF fan games of all time. But the timing doesn't only relate to how fast your cameras load. If that was all it did, then this mechanic would be pretty lackluster overall. It also plays a much more integral role with a core mechanic of the game: the power. Your power drains pretty quickly in this game. However, there is a way to recharge it. And unlike in most FNAF games where you can recharge power, it's surprisingly not done by holding down a fucking button like a music box. Thank dick. This time around, it's also tied to the timing mechanic in the cameras. Every time you properly time a camera switch, a small battery multiplier will increase by 1 at the bottom of the camera. The higher that multiplier is, the more power will increase, with a maximum multiplier of 30. However, if you don't properly time a switch fast enough, then the multiplier will start to quickly decrease. So constantly switching cameras is a must. I think this is easily one of the most unique mechanics I've ever seen. It adds a level of skill that most other FNAF games just don't have. Most FNAF games' skill ceilings are marked by your reflexes. This one is marked by your rhythm, and I think that's awesome. But anyways, onto the threat this night introduces: Bad Bitch Bella. Or as this game calls her, Bella the Beaver. I think my name is a little bit better though, personally. Bad Bitch Bella has a very simple motive: walk to your office, put a collar on you, and walk you like a dog. You guys can feel free to defend yourself from her, which I will explain how to do in a moment, but I for one will already be on my hands and knees by the time she enters the office. She will try to enter your office through camera 5 or your right door. In camera 5, she'll have 2 stages. One where she's far away from the camera, and another where she's much closer. Once she moves to her second phase, you will have to use your camera's alarm system, which, lucky us, is also tied to the timing mechanic. When you press the alarm button, if you don't time it with the red bar, the audio will not play and you'll have to wait for your alarm to charge back up. When you use the alarm on Bad Bitch Bella, she will look at the camera. When she does, all you have to do is close your door, and eventually she will go back to the stage. If you don't use the alarm on her, she will pound on your door and drain a lot of power before leaving, and then Operation Walk You Like a Dog will be set in motion. Very easy character to explain two very important mechanics in this game. I think After Hours at Cody's Night 1 is a great example of properly introducing your game's core mechanics in a way that isn't confusing or overwhelming. Plus, you made the character really hot for no reason at all. This is a children's establishment. Why are the characters hot? That's something I'll never be able to wrap my head around. Now, how do we actually complete the night? Surviving until 6 a.m., Dxtr? You fucking retard? Whoa. Hey now. The people in my comments don't like it when you say that word. Do better, retard. Anyways, no. Surviving until 6 a.m. is not how you complete a night in this game. After Hours at Cody's opts to use a task-based completion system. Now everyone hold your breath, because this could either make or break this game depending on how shitty the tasks are. You can exhale. It's okay. The task is mundane. However, it plays into the game's core mechanic, so it actually makes for a very satisfying gameplay loop. Remember that black figure that brought the bad bitch back to life? Well, that character is known in this game as the Anomaly. And judging by that name alone, I'm willing to bet you can guess what this guy is going to do and what the task system in this game is. The Anomaly has a random chance to appear on any of the cameras in your game at any time. If at any point you find him, you will have to use your alarm on the camera that he's on. When you do, your Anomaly counter will go up. After you find him 10 times, the night will be over. You do have to note that he will not always be on a camera, and if you don't find him fast enough when he appears, he will not stay on a camera forever and will eventually leave. Again, overall this mechanic is pretty boring, but because of how well it ties into the timing mechanic, it serves as one of the most enjoyable FNAF experiences I've ever had. But now on to night 2, except I lied because we actually have a cutscene to talk about first.
My dear friends, the worst has come to pass. As many of you may already know, my brother, Darren, has not been found since his disappearance earlier this year. He meant the world to me, as I'm sure he did to plenty of you too. His astounding creativity and infallible craftsmanship became the source of so many wonderful memories for children all across the country. These moments we shared will remain evergreen to me for as long as I live. Before I continue though, I'd like to show you this. A child at Cody's gave this to me once when I was visiting the restaurant. Wonderful, isn't it? This creativity we inspire. As it pains me to say, I do understand the suspicion people may have had toward me in the months following my brother's disappearance. But please, I urge you all to understand how these events have weighed heavy on me. He was my family too. The threats I've received since then caused me to think about my place in all this. I know I may not have been the most communicative or involved between the two of us, but I still did hold so much love for the work we did together. All this is to say that I will be stepping down as proprietor of Cody & Co. I've had a long and fulfilling career, and I only hope that the kindness I've shown will continue to reflect on the company as I look forward to finding someone new to handle the reins. But until then, I hope only to leave this company in a better state than it currently remains. If my being a part of this only serves to obstruct the joy and wonder that my brother and I wish to impart, then perhaps it is best if I step down and let the magic live on without me. Thank you for everything. I genuinely had a wonderful time.
So, we have two brothers that started this company together, and one of them tragically died. Now, I'm no FNAF expert, Okay, maybe I am a little. I think we're all smart enough to know that the pain in this guy's voice is definitely a little bit sussy. I'm not pointing any fingers here, but if it comes out that his brother is the one who killed him, I would not be surprised in the slightest. Anyways, on to night 2. By the way, if you were curious as to how this game explains the anomaly, well, the phone guy blatantly tells us that we're ghost hunting. Everyone that works in this building knows about this thing and what it can do, and we were more so hired to remove it. If I signed up for a night watch job and got told that, I would walk out of that building before the poor bastard could even hang up. Night 2 introduces one new threat, Morris, who also introduces the last major mechanic this game has to talk about, the curtain behind you. I haven't actually mentioned it so far, but yes, you can turn around in your office to find a curtain. It vaguely reminds me of the curtain from those nights at Rachel's. However, this game isn't mind-numbingly boring like that one is. Morris will slowly creep out from behind the curtains throughout the night. Occasionally, you'll have to turn around and force him back. However, unlike most curtain mechanics like this, it isn't just pulling them closed or holding your light on it. After Hours at Cody's needs to get a little bit quirky. Introducing probably the most frustrating mechanic in the entire game. Next to the curtains, you'll see 4 buttons. Each button has a color. You might be thinking, Dexter, I'm looking at them and not a single one of them has a color. Well, you see, dear viewer, that's what I thought too. However, no, they do indeed have a color. You just can't see which color each button is until you press it, which I think is very stupid. Morris has 5 phases before jump scaring you. The first phase is the phase you'll mostly see him in. All you'll be able to see is his nose. This is the furthest back that he can be, so if he looks like this, you're all good. The next 4 phases each correspond to one of those buttons. So depending on how close he is to ganking you, you will have to select the correct colored button and then flash your light on him to make him go back to phase 1. What do the buttons mixed with the flashlight have to do with sending him back? I really have no idea. And in all honesty, I think this is easily the weakest part of the entire game. But that's not where my frustration with Morris ends. No, not at all. Believe it or not, turning around in your office can be a frustrating experience for literally no reason whatsoever. How, you might be asking? Well, I'd be more than happy to explain it to you. Let's say you're facing towards your doors. Bad bitch Bella is at your door, so for now, the door is closed. While this door is closed, apparently Beth, the name of our player, gets fucking glued to the goddamn ground and is unable to move an inch. Because if either one of your doors are closed, you will be unable to turn around to check on Morris. How does this make any sense at all? It literally fucking doesn't. And that's not all. It gets even more frustrating. Let's imagine you're facing Morris. You press a button and flash your light to send him back. Now it's time to turn around and start filling up our power in the camera again. But uh-oh, fucker! You forgot to press the button you already fucking pressed. Because if any of the buttons are currently toggled on, you can't turn around. Why? Who the fuck knows? I love this game a lot, but holy shit, this is one of the most retarded things I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense at all. Well, whatever. It's frustrating. It's stupid, but I didn't let it ruin my experience with the rest of this amazing game. Speaking of, let's move on to the post-night 2 cutscene.
Greetings, employee, and welcome to part 3 of the Warren Tech Mascot Training Module. In this chapter, we'll be demonstrating how to safely wear and operate our patented Flex mascot suit. To begin the process, locate the 4 winding ports present on each of the character's limbs. Use your company-issued War Wrench to turn counterclockwise and disengage the mascot's enhanced performance mode. You should notice the eyes glow red from the activation of the light relay. This means that the mascot is ready to be worn. Simply be warned. Do not, by any circumstances, wear the mascot suit while it is still in its enhanced performance mode. Its specialized routines involve the full rotation and contortion of the extremities. Should you be caught in the suit during the performance of one of these routines, do not panic. If you can, tuck your legs and arms into the main torso and lower your head as far as possible.
Repeat the phrase, Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect. Abort showtime routine. Jonah protocol in effect.
So it seems we've found After Hours at Cody's spring lock equivalent. And in all honesty, I think it's way more brutal than the spring lock suit could ever be. Imagine being locked inside of that clown suit, only for the arms and legs to start twisting, breaking your bones, ripping your tendons, and contorting your bodies in ways it was never supposed to bend. This is easily one of the most terrifying ideas I've ever seen in a FNAF game before, and I'm all for it. Night 3 introduces one new threat, Jack the Jackal. He acts as this game's Chica, being a borderline exact copy of Bad Bitch Bella, except she's a 10 and he's like a 4 at best on a good day. As I'm sure you could have expected, Jack does the exact same thing as Bella, except he attacks camera 6 and your left door instead of your right. The same system and rules apply to him. He has 2 phases on camera 6. Once he's in his second phase, use the alarm on him and close the door until he leaves. Simple sugar. We've dealt with this before, however, it does add a decent deal of pressure in combination with what we already have. The cooldown for the alarm is relatively slow, and now having 3 consistent problems we need to use it on, it could easily start to get out of hand fast. Not to mention having another door character which could prevent us from turning around to check on Morris. This game can get stressful, but I honestly think that's one of the most enjoyable parts about it.
Clocking out? Okay. Have a good night then. Hey, Lonnie, mind if I talk to you about something?
Oh, of course. I was just about to finish up here. What's on your mind?
So, I've been going over the company's financial statements to help allocate the budget for next year. I noticed that some of our bank capital's been withdrawn and donated to a couple of undisclosed recipients. They've been blocked out. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? Okay. If you don't know anything about it, I'll just go ask Cynthia.
You won't get anything of value out of her. I made those withdrawals.
Alright, that's fine, but let me know next time. Given how much was spent, I don't have enough money left to fund my R&D for the new mascots next year. We need to focus on improving the restaurant before doing anything like this, okay? Anyways, who were the recipients anyway? You're joking, Lonnie. Tell me you're joking.
Quite the opposite, I'm afraid.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And after all that shit about dedicating yourself to the betterment of the company, to promise a business that would never do anything to harm its audience again, you pulled this on me?
Look, calm down. I can explain.
No, you can't explain shit. You may put up a face to get them to tolerate you, but I'll be damned if you ever gave a shit about the kids. I'm the one working my ass off out there to cover for your mistakes.
I said calm down! Don't even start with me. Your pitiful self-righteousness is pathetic. Do you not remember the hole I dug you out of? You owe every part of this success to me. I made this company, and I made you! Don't try to push superiority onto me when you're the one who crawled to me, begging for my help all those years ago. What I do with my company's funds is none of your business. Do what is asked of you before I decide you're no longer needed.
Fine, you made your point.
Glad we came to an agreement. Be seeing you.
Whatever.
So, the brother Lonnie, who we heard in the Night 1 cutscene, has been spending company money on something shady. The exact contents have been redacted, but judging from Daryl's reaction, it's not good news. We also have a pretty big argument about money here. And if we're still rolling with my theory that Lonnie had something to do with Daryl's death, money is one of the most common reasons for murder. Again, not necessarily pointing any fingers. Okay, that's a lie. Yes, I am. There's no way in fuck Lonnie isn't the reason Daryl died. But I guess only time will tell. Night 4 introduces the main attraction himself, Cody. Really shitty name, by the way. The only Cody I like is this gay guy who wears a lot of blue and has some yellow ass teeth. Anyways, onto what Cody from the game does. Cody's main goal in this game is to absolutely rail your power supply. There are 2 cameras which have breaker boxes in them. They must be female because Cody really wants to break their boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dig. When he's in either of these cameras, he'll have 2 phases. One where he's just kind of chilling there, and the other where he's having intercourse with said breaker box. When you see him doing his thing with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, use the alarm on his camera to scare him away. If you don't, obviously your power is going to disintegrate like the cells on my testicles when I accidentally place them on the stove. So, here we have yet another character that requires us to use the alarm system. Can you start to see how this game could become stressful? Especially considering that our alarm has a pretty long cooldown time in reference to the amount of characters that require its use. Yeah, it can become a bit much at times, but in all honesty, I never felt like this game was unfair. I never felt like there was even an inkling of RNG. This game is so fun. You guys really need to check it out, or check out my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black.
I'm done.
Just what is the meaning of this?
I can't keep covering your ass. I've just about had it. I've been trying to keep the magic alive for years at this point, but everything you've done has just thrown a wrench in every plan I've had. Every single time I was at the cusp of making something good for our audience, you've pulled the rug out from under my feet. Whatever, I know your heart was never really in it. Hell, we both know that neither of us would be here if it weren't for my mascots.
Do I need to remind you of the last time we've had this conversation?
No, because I've been thinking about what you said. Sure, you helped me out of a dark place, but I'm sure as goddamn hell you only ever did it to leech off my talent, knowing full well you couldn't produce a fraction of what we've accomplished here on your own.
Just get to the point. You're wasting my time.
I've had Cynthia pull our financial statements from the last 2 years. Don't even think about going after her when this is done, because she's made up her mind to leave long ago. I have the contacts of every news outlet in the state, ready to publish the uncensored documents at a moment's notice.
What? Are you dense? Don't you realize that this is gonna spell the end of you too?
I do. Besides, however this turns out sure as hell beats trying to steer a ship that's been sinking for years now. So I'm gonna give you 2 options. Walk away now and forsake your every stake in this company, or take the fall with me and lose everything anyway.
You belligerent, unthinking fool! You really haven't changed at all, have you? Still the over-emotional disaster of a child you've been since we were kids. God, it's no wonder Mom and Dad gave up on you so damn easily. You know what? Do your worst. You won't get anything out of me.
Then I guess you made your choice.
God damn it, Doria, get back here! This isn't something you just decide!
I've told you, my name is Daryl. Goodbye, Lonnie.
No, this can't be happening.
Why are you making me do this?
Tisk, tisk, tisk. Well. Looky what we have here. Exactly as I suspected. Lonnie killed his brother. Sure, Daryl was gonna bring the entire company to its knees, but to be fair, it was entirely Lonnie's fault. I also want to use this cutscene to bring up a problem I have with some FNAF fan games. Voice acting can really make or break an impactful scene in a game. You really need to be able to get an actor or actress who can really bring that energy that the role needs to tell its story. Lonnie's voice acting is bad, and it really shows in this Night 4 cutscene. From the mumbling, making it hard to understand what he's saying if it wasn't for the subtitles, to the actor not really yelling during a scene where he needs to be yelling, it makes this scene, which is supposed to be impactful and shocking, just feel very awkward and uncomfortable. Not every game needs voice acting either. If you're a dev working on a FNAF game, or any game for that matter, and you just can't quite find an actor or actress that can fit your role with the vision you had in your head, I honestly think it's much better to just leave the voicing up to the player, rather than using an actor or actress that is going to make your scenes feel like they came out of Garden of Banban, a game series with notoriously horrendous voice acting. Anyways, moving on to Night 5. It introduces nothing new and just serves as a more difficult version of Night 4, so there's obviously not a whole lot to talk about here. However, what we can talk about is the post-Night 5 cutscene.
Hello? Oh, hello? Lonnie, what is this? Get me the hell out of here.
No. They can't know. God. Why are you making me do this?
Wait, what? Lonnie, what the hell are you thinking of doing?
Please. Don't make this harder than it has to be.
Lonnie, please, no. Listen, don't do this. I'm your brother!
You made me do this! They can't know. No one can know.
Please, Lonnie! I don't want to die! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
Now, no one will know. I'm sorry, Daryl.
So, Daryl was killed via the Flex clown suit, this game's spring locks. It's not often you see someone other than the villain in a FNAF game fall to one of these traps. I was definitely shocked when I first saw this, and you can see my reaction to it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Truly one of the most brutal death scenes I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game. Except this time around, it didn't happen to someone we wanted it to happen to. Night 6 introduces this game's final 2 threats, and one of them is obviously the clown, Klaus, acting as this game's boss fight night. Klaus acts as every character we've seen so far, and that includes the anomaly. Klaus can attack both of your doors, can try to break your breaker boxes with his big fat patty whacker double-decker robo dick, and is the anomaly you have to find. Namely, if his eyes are glowing, that's how you know to play the alarm. Do this 10 times and the night is over. But what about Morris? It's stated in the phone call that Klaus destroyed all of the animatronics. What about a Morris mechanic? Well, Morris is replaced by this night's second new threat, Shadow Cody, who is a much faster version of Morris. If you thought you had to check on Morris a lot, you have to check on Shadow Cody a fuck ton more. This night is intense. Klaus is fast. He will be moving around your cameras, attacking you very quickly. And in addition to the incredibly aggressive Shadow Cody, it really serves to test the limits of your skills and your timings, easily being one of my favorite nights in this entire game, and being one of, if not my favorite boss fight night in any FNAF game I've ever played.
I need vengeance. We're going to do wonderful things.
Before Beth can leave the building, she's caught by Klaus and is never seen by another human being ever again. A local who goes by the name Bethany Hasters has been reported missing as of Sunday 5 a.m. Last seen at Cody & Co.'s Game and Grub, authorities have been searching the vicinity and its surrounding forest areas to deduct what could have occurred. There is no current suspicion of foul play, but a manhunt will be conducted within the week. Authorities state to have found her place of work in disarray, sparking suspicions of the suspect being inebriated or the like. In addition to this, the robot entertainers of the restaurant were found completely disassembled and damaged beyond repair. The company has yet to release a statement, but the resigning CEO has spoken with authorities and announces that the robots will be sent for repair at one of the company's sister facilities. This story is depraved, and trust me, there's a lot that goes into it. Long before the game takes place, Cody & Co.'s Game and Grub was meant to be a second chance, a reopening of a restaurant that had already failed once before, revived under the guidance of Warren Technology. On the surface, it was nothing special. A modest, arcade-style diner built around animatronic mascots, struggling to stay relevant in a world that had already moved on. But beneath that fragile revival was something unstable, something unfinished, quietly embedded into the building's systems. That presence became known as the anomaly. Employees noticed it first, small things at the beginning, strange glitches in the animatronics' behaviors, systems responding without being touched, errors appearing where none should exist. Management acknowledged it, but only as a technical problem, something to be observed, something to be measured, not something to be feared. By the time Bethany Hasters was hired as the night guard, the anomaly was already spreading. Bethany's job was simple on paper: work the overnight shift, monitor the building, and collect data on the anomaly's activity. Her first night begins on November 9th, 1997, and at first, the restaurant almost feels dormant, quiet, empty. But that stillness doesn't last long, because each night, the anomaly grows more aggressive, and it chooses its host one by one. The first animatronic to fall under its influence is Bella the Beaver. Once a friendly mascot, Bella becomes erratic, hostile, and unpredictable, her movements no longer matching her original programming. The following night, Morris the Mouse is corrupted as well, then Jack the Jackal. Each evening, another animatronic loses control, as if something is slowly rewriting them from the inside. All the while, the anomaly watches Bethany. By Thursday night, even Cody, the face of the restaurant itself, is no longer safe. His corruption marks a turning point. The anomaly has nearly overtaken the entire system. Whatever restraint once existed is gone, and by Friday, the restaurant's original code is on the brink of a total collapse. Behind all of this is Warren Technology, and more specifically, the company's founders, Daryl and Lonnie Warren. Years earlier, Daryl had been responsible for developing advanced animatronic technology, including a dangerous experimental suit known as the Flex suit. At some point, Daryl was betrayed and trapped inside that suit. Whether intentional or negligent, the result was the same. Daryl never escaped, and what remained of him became something else entirely: the anomaly. On Friday night, Lonnie Warren lies about a meeting, betrays another employee, and secretly releases what remains of Daryl from backstage confinement. By Saturday, the animatronics have been dismantled, but the threat hasn't ended. The anomaly has a body now, a form known as Klaus, and it is no longer bound to systems or code. It hunts Bethany directly. Saturday night becomes less about surviving malfunctioning machines and more about avoiding a conscious entity moving freely through the building. And if that wasn't enough, another presence emerges: Shadow Cody, a dark manifestation tied to the restaurant's collapse, appearing as an additional threat. In the end, Bethany doesn't escape. She's caught by Klaus and taken away, her fate left deliberately unclear. In the final cutscene, Daryl, still trapped within Klaus, offers her a gift, hinting that her story isn't over, and that whatever comes next will involve choice, consequence, and continuation. And that's where After Hours at Cody's leaves us. A restaurant reopened too late, a company that tried to bury its mistakes, and a presence that was never just a glitch, but the remains of someone who was never allowed to leave. But that's not where After Hours at Cody's comes to a close. Not quite yet. We still have something very interesting to talk about. If you go to the custom night menu after completing the final night, you will see a small chest icon in the bottom corner. Clicking on it will bring you to a FNAF 4 styled lock box with 2 padlocks. And rest assured, we can get the keys. The first key is locked behind 520 mode. If there's anything you guys know about me, it's that I'm absolutely terrible at Five Nights at Freddy's games. But you want to hear something crazy? I was actually able to beat this max mode, and I even did it on my first try. I would usually never even give a max mode a try, and at the time of playing it, I didn't know that beating it would give me a key. Does that let me unlock one of the boxes? Oh my god, it did! So the fact that I played it and beat it goes to show just how much I enjoyed this game, and I really think you guys will too. But what about the second key? Well, you get it by completing this game's second max mode, 220 mode with Klaus and Shadow Cody, which yes, I also beat, and yes, I also beat on my first try. I don't think this game is necessarily very difficult by any means, but I am still very proud of myself for actually doing it. And watching me play it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, makes me look like I'm a lot better at these types of games than I really am. After completing both max modes, we can take the keys and unlock the box to find a very menacing looking character whose eyes turn on. A teaser for what will undoubtedly be a second game, and I believe that this character we see here is Bethany. But only time will tell. One last thing I want to talk about is something you can find in the extras menu. If you scroll through the characters until you find Klaus and hover over his face, you will see what I believe to be the rotting, decompiling corpse of Daryl. Truly one of the most disturbing images I've ever seen in a FNAF game. And with that, that's all After Hours at Cody's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is easily one of the most unique, interesting, and fun FNAF games I've ever played. Right up there with how much fun I had playing Juniors. After Hours at Cody's really is a super fun experience with a gruesome, easy to follow story, and I highly recommend you give it a try. 2D FNAF fan games, something you don't see all too often in the mainstream. A few well-known titles may come to mind. Maybe you think of Playtime with Percy, One Night at Flumpty's, or maybe Too Many Nights pops into your head. However, as of recently, I'm sure there's another very popular 2D FNAF fan game that you can think of. One that's made the rounds in my comment section so much that I can't release any video without getting asked to cover it. Five Nights at Freddy's. I was honestly expecting to not like this game, and no, it's not because it's popular. Do you ever get that feeling where you look at something and you just feel like you're not going to like it? Food is a great example. Sure, I've never tried a Brussels sprout, but I can guarantee you that I'm not going to like it. This is the feeling I had when I first looked at Five Nights at Freddy's, and oh boy, am I ever glad you guys wouldn't shut up about it, because it has easily become one of my favorite FNAF games of all time. Sit the fuck down and listen to me, a 20-year-old, fully grown man, ramble about a game made for children once again. Five Nights at Freddy's is as simple as a FNAF game can get in terms of what is actually going on. Our character's name is Alan Fritter, and we see an ad in the newspaper. Oh great, a new job, let's apply. Freddy's doesn't try to break the mold here. However, don't let that fool you, as there still is a pretty interesting story this game has to tell. Given the fact there's not much exposition to talk about, we instead get to hop right into night 1 and go over to the office and look at the tools at our disposal. Our office looks very similar to the office from Five Nights at Freddy's 1. 2 doors to the right and left of us, some cameras, bada bing bada boom, classic Five Nights at Freddy's. So, why does this game stand out to me and so many others then? Well, I'm glad you asked. Opening up the cameras, we will see the first main gameplay loop Freddy's has to offer. Going to the kitchen cameras, we will see that we're able to make pizzas. This will very quickly become the biggest priority in the entire game, but I'll go into more detail with it when it becomes relevant. But to keep it simple, always make sure you have a pizza cooking. When a pizza is done cooking, you will be able to hear a ding sound cue. That lets you know that you need to start making the next pizza. You'll notice that the doors in your office are replaced by lasers. This is one of the many interesting quirks this game has. Let's go over a few other fun stuff in the office. Occasionally, when you flip up the camera, some things have the chance to change in your office. For example, the main poster can change to have references to other fan games such as 5 Newfangled Nights, Five Nights at Frick Bears 3, Not Bear, and Too Many Nights. I think including references to other fan games really helps pull the community together, which I really like. With that out of the way, now we can dive into the threats this night has to offer, starting with this game's Bonnie, or as this game calls him, Bernard das Karnickel. Yes, by the way, each of these characters in this game have been given a German name. If you'd like to know the reason why, tough shit, because even the dev doesn't know why he chose to do this. Bernard acts somewhat similarly to Bonnie, being the character that attacks your doors, except this time around he can attack both instead of just one. A big step up from what he usually does. Friedrichs has no lights on the doors, so you'll have to look out for Bernard's fingers to be able to tell that he's there. If he is, use the lasers to shock him and he'll run away. If you don't do so fast enough, he'll step into your office and kinda just stand there, blocking the laser button and just kinda stare at you with his dopey ass face. This is also a good portion of the video to bring up how the power usage in this game works. It's obviously the same as any other game in concept. The more things you're using that waste power, the higher the usage will be, and the higher the usage meter is, the faster your power drains. You'll notice a difference in this game than in a game like Five Nights at Freddy's 1, where in FNAF 1, the moment you stop using something, the usage will instantly decrease, whereas in Friedrichs, the power will decrease exponentially. However, this may also just be a visual thing, so maybe I'm just talking stupid right now. This night also introduces Chica, or as this game calls her, Clara das Kuchen. Clara is the reason why cooking the pizzas is so important. Clara will enter the kitchen. If a pizza is not cooking, she'll take charge and start cooking one herself. Except there's something really funny about that. And that's that she literally fucking sucks so bad at cooking you would not believe it. If you let Clara put her pizza into the oven, the building will very quickly start on fire. Very on par for a FNAF game, by the way. When the building is on fire, a brand new mechanic is introduced, the sprinkler system. If your building temperature reaches 120 degrees, none of the electronics in the building will work. That means no cameras and no lasers. This, of course, will result in a death, so you have to use the sprinklers to stop the fire. I honestly think that the sprinkler mechanic is the coolest addition in this entire game. Once you use the sprinklers, the monitor in your office will display how wet the building is. The higher the percentage, the longer it will take for things to activate when used. For example, once you use the sprinklers, it will shoot up to 100%. If you were to then do anything, from trying to start another pizza to using the lasers, you would have to wait around 2 seconds before they would actually activate after pushing them. This doesn't make the game impossible, and this percentage will slowly decrease back down to 0, but this is actually so fucking cool. It's something I don't think I've ever seen before. If you fail a mechanic in the game, instead of just losing, you're given the opportunity to correct yourself. However, it does come at the cost of needing you to react even faster until the wetness goes all the way back down. Yes, it does make the night stressful, but I think it's super cool and once again is my favorite mechanic in the entire game. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. There are actually no post-night minigames in Friedrichs, which honestly feels weird to say since I usually spend a pretty decent amount of time in each video talking about them. But since there aren't any, I'm safe to move on to Night 2. God, this game just makes my days so much better. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats. Let's talk about the character you'll recognize more first. Foxy, or as this game calls him, Felix der whatever the fuck, I'm not gonna try to say that. Surprisingly, Felix wasn't given a Foxy-like mechanic. Instead, he almost does the opposite. Kind of. Where in FNAF 1, the more you watch Foxy, the less he moves. Felix is the opposite. The more you watch him, the more he moves. And in much the same way as Foxy. And by that, I mean you don't really have to be looking at him, but rather just have the cameras up. You see, Felix might just be a little bit of an autistic fellow. He really likes this spinning casino wheel. So much so that he will get very upset when it's not spinning. Depending on the difficulty setting, you will have a predetermined number of times that you can flip up the camera before the casino wheel stops spinning. And when it does stop spinning, Felix will haul ass to your office to politely ask you to spin it for him again. He's checking up. He's like, please, turn the wheel back on. I like it when the wheel is on. When he's in your office, he'll block the laser button, preventing you from keeping Bonnie or another character we'll mention later out. To spin the wheel, all you have to do is go back over to the camera and push the spin wheel button, where he will then sprint back out of your office to continue watching it spin. Felix and his mechanics remind me in a way of Clara, a general timer that counts down to an event that will make your run more difficult, and its fix is to just click a button on the camera. Now, you might think that because of that, I'd call this a lazy design, and while technically yes, it is pretty much the same recycled mechanic, I actually think that it makes the gameplay loop more enjoyable. Why? Well, Five Nights at Frederick's gets you into what I like to call a flow state while you are playing. Every single mechanic in this game works together to make the entire experience feel satisfying to play. Most mechanics in this game are reaction-based, which is something I like to think I'm pretty good at. This leads to a very smooth feeling gameplay loop where yes, it is challenging, however you almost always feel in control and every single interaction feels solid and responsive. The other threat this night adds is the endoskeleton in the back room, or as this game calls it, Endoskelet. Endoskelet behaves exactly how Bernard does with a small twist. He too will attack either of your two doors, but instead of blocking the button like Bernard, Endo will butt bang your power usage and force it to stay completely full until you inevitably die. I personally think that Endo has the weakest mechanic out of this entire game. However, one thing I do appreciate about him is that at least he has the decency to make a sound cue when he arrives at your door, unlike fuck-ass Bernard. Now, you might think this game seems way too easy. You never have to check the cameras until you either A, hear a very distinct sound cue letting you know to bake a pizza, or B, if Felix runs into your office, and usually, I'd agree. Up until this moment, the game is overall pretty easy, but we have yet to introduce a character that will force us to use the cameras and probably make your butthole pucker more than just a few times. So let's move on to Night 3. Night 3 introduces the main attraction himself, Freddy. Or of course, as you already know, this game calls Friedrich Fazbear. Friedrich is bolted to the stage. So that may lead you to ask the question, how is he even a fucking threat if he can't leave the stage? Well, you see, there's actually a pretty interesting plot twist here, and that's that the game fucking lied. Friedrich is bolted to the stage, however, that doesn't prevent him from moving at all. He'll jump up to the vent on the ceiling and start pulling his way through towards your office. You'll be able to see him go through 3 distinct phases on the cameras. Once he reaches stage 3, you must use the lasers to shock him, which will then cause him to go back to the stage where he will promptly try again. What this mechanic does so well for the game is force you to look at the cameras, giving Friedrich synergy with Felix. Now, I have to be transparent here. There is a sound cue that plays whenever Friedrich enters a new phase in the camera. However, it's pretty damn quiet, and with how frequently characters will be screaming from being shocked, music playing loud as fuck in your ear, as well as a multitude of other things, it will probably be very common for you to just not hear these sound cues because of how faint they naturally are. Now, of course, if you have God hearing, then checking the cameras is literally only necessary when a pizza needs to be baked, Felix needs the wheel spun, or Friedrich needs a good shock. But I honestly feel like this mechanic really ties the whole gameplay loop together. So, what could the game possibly do to spice the gameplay up from here? Oh, for fuck's sake, the power went out. Oh, fuck you! Fuck you! Hold on. What the fuck? More specifically, just the lights. Yeah, that's right. The gimmick of Night 4 is that the only way you can see is through a flashlight that follows your mouse. The cameras will be dark as well, making it harder to see some of the characters. Let's just take a moment to talk about how fucking genius this mechanic is. The only other FNAF game that I can think of that does this is Showman's, and it was brilliant there as well. Without literally changing anything about the game, you've just made it much more challenging. Especially when it comes to Bernard. Oh my god, Bernard. Bernard is the sole reason this night is even remotely difficult. If you remember from earlier, Bernard doesn't make a sound cue when he's at your door. He's also one of the characters that doesn't have glowing eyes. So this brings up the question, how are you supposed to be able to tell he's at the door if you can't see him? I want you to take a good long look at this image right here. Do you see it? Yeah, that's Bernard's hand. That's all you get to be able to tell if he's there. Obviously, looking at it now, it seems so clear. How could you even miss that? But let me tell you, when you're in a game, focusing on managing all the characters at once, this little detail could very easily end a lot of your runs. And that was totally the intention. And I think that's really cool. Again, making the game harder without drastically changing anything. It's awesome. But if you manage to complete Night 4, an unknown figure will appear in front of you and roar, flinging you to the back of the office where you'll fall into a springlock suit and fucking die. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's what happens. And this leads perfectly into Night 5. Night 5 has you awaken, finding out you're not dead inside the suit. Getting back up, you notice the figure that caused your death was Golden Friedrich, the final boss of this game. Using your new powers from the suit, you fucking punch him in the face and he runs away like a bitch. Get ready, guys. Let's talk about the most frustrating character Five Nights at Frederick's has to offer, Golden Friedrich. Night 5 is easily my favorite night in the entire game. This is the night that really shows off the flow state you can get into while playing this game, and I'll explain why as we go. To start, let's go over how Golden Friedrich works. Golden Friedrich has 4 means of attacking you. The first attack has him go to either of your doors like Bernard. A noticeable sound cue will play, that being him laughing, which by the way you should get used to because he's going to be doing that a lot throughout this night. Deal with him by using the lasers how you'd expect. The next mechanic has him dive into the vent like Friedrich. Deal with him the same way you would Friedrich, just by using the laser. Now we can talk about the other 2 attack methods that aren't seen anywhere else in the game. The first has him appear in your office. When he does, simply fucking punch him in the face. As you can tell by the look on his face after doing so, he is so incredibly shocked that you would even have the balls to attempt something like that. So insane, so he will quickly leave. The final attack, the most soul-sucking, fuck-ass, bitch-ass mechanic. I want you guys to take a guess what he could possibly do. That's right! My least favorite fucking FNAF mechanic ever designed! Teleporting to a random camera and having to search for which one he fucking went to and stare at him until he goes away. Friedrichs, you were doing so well. Why'd you have to do this to me? Why'd you have to bend me over and just fuck me right up the ass? Why? Why add this mechanic and blow up my internal organs like the goddamn 4th of July? I'm basically holding your fucking prison wallet. Go find him on the cameras. How about you go find my nuts? But hey, at least the rest of the night is pretty cool. Unlike most boss fight nights from FNAF games, this night doesn't make the boss the only threat throughout. However, this night will slowly reintroduce the characters you've been going up against as the night progresses every hour. 1 AM, Bernard and Endoskelet reappear. Night 2, Chica and Felix reappear. 3 AM, Freddy appears. And finally at 4 AM, your lights go out once more. And at 5 AM, the building starts on fire, forcing you to use the sprinklers. And from there, it's just a crazy survival game until the final 6 AM. This night is honestly some of the most fun I've had with a FNAF game. Slowly reintroducing each mechanic throughout the night just made the whole experience slowly feel like it was getting harder and harder, which, to be fair, it was. 100% go try this game out. You will not regret it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that throughout this night, you've been able to see this memory wipe meter slowly fill up. Well, at the end of the night, it completes, and the character we've been playing as so far seemingly finally dies. Golden Friedrich laughs at the corpse, and that's when we're shot back to the menu to see that there is a night 6. But if we're dead, how is that even going to work? Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the second main character of this game, Ella Vanilla. Ella is who we play as on night 6. She discovers a job flyer in the local newspaper and decides that it'd be a great idea to become the new night guard at Friedrich's. Entering the office for the final night, we're greeted to, oh my fucking god, there's Alan right there. That's right. On top of everything we've seen so far, our previous protagonist becomes an antagonist on this night, and he's pretty damn aggressive as well. Now being called Fritterfalle, he acts as an additional threat to make night 6 a pain in the dick. His mechanic is simple, basically being a music box, something I wasn't super thrilled about when I first saw it, but overall ends up not really feeling like one, even though that's literally all it is. Throughout this night, Fritterfalle will attempt to get up and murk your ass. In order to sedate him, all you have to do is hold his nose. According to the lore, the owners of this restaurant actually tell the technicians to do this to Fritter because they know how much of a threat he is. Yet for some reason, they refuse to throw his ass out. But with that, that's all the main game of Five Nights at Friedrich's has to offer. Let's fucking go! Woo! Woo! 217. Ella Vanilla. Fuck yeah, we got SpongeBob over there. Is that Gustavo Fring up here? But, as I'm sure you can tell by looking at the timeline of this video, I still have more I want to talk about. That being the story, and my favorite thing about any game ever, post-game. Let's start with the story. You may think that this game doesn't really have anything else besides what we've already covered with Alan and Ella, but there actually is a little bit more to dissect. I want to first thank commenters such as Lex Gauntly and Redman. If it weren't for comments like these on my Tales of the Bunnyman video, I probably wouldn't feel as confident talking about the story, as it is something I don't like doing because I don't feel like I can do it as much justice as it deserves. I also really want to thank City, the owner of the FNAF Game Wiki, for reaching out to me on Discord to tell me about certain things and clarify any questions I have when researching these videos. Let's start by getting something out of the way. Friedrich's Pizza is not a chain restaurant like Freddy Fazbear's, instead just being a standalone restaurant. The animatronics used to be kept in a location known only as F-NJ02. What the hell does that mean? I have no fucking idea. But at some point, these characters were transferred to another location known as F-PA09, which is the restaurant we see in the game. Throughout the game, you learn how to deal with the threats through the pages of the service manual on your desk. Turning over these pages will slowly tell a very disturbing story. They reveal that each animatronic were noted to have unknown human remains making up a majority of their body. Friedrich has human teeth and eyes, Clara has human arms, Bernard is literally just an amalgamation of human mush, Felix has human eyes, and Endo has human veins and teeth. On Flinguary, yes, by the way, the months are named differently in this game, 29th, 2009, Alan Fritter takes the job at Friedrich's after standing outside the building and slapping the window until he was hired. The reason he wanted the job? I have no fucking idea, and it's not clear in the game either, so just accept it. However, it is clear that the animatronics remember him from past events and are intent on killing him. Throughout the night, you are supposed to be taught the mechanics through the manual on your desk. However, the pages of said manual have been ripped out, crumpled, and scribbled on by presumably previous employees. These scribbles are mocking the animatronics, which I get the funny feeling pisses them off a little bit, and it's confirmed that the characters enjoy killing the guards at the establishment. It's confirmed that Clara made her first successful pizza using Alan's body parts. Bernard used his arms as a back scratcher. Friedrich used his fucking veins as dental floss, which is insane, and Endoskelet used his remains as a suit. As far as I could tell, Felix is the only one who didn't do something fucked with the corpse. Obviously, at the end of the week, Alan gets that Soulja Boy cranked on him by Golden Friedrich and is stuffed inside a spare suit. His memory is wiped, and instead of disposing of the corpse in their restaurant, the owners instead instructed the technicians to use him for testing. Okay, maybe I'm too level-headed, but this seems like a very stupid idea that would get OSHA on your ass in about 4 seconds flat. Of course, Ella Vanilla later takes his position and we play as her in Night 6. It's clear that Alan still somewhat has a presence inside of the suit. Obviously because he can attack you while playing as Ella, but also because through the extras menu, we learn that he responds to Ella's comments through the collectibles menu. and at one point even entrusts her with holding an unstated item appearing as some weird-looking snapped object. But really, after this, the story is either unclear or not canon. So as far as I'm aware, that's everything, and Five Nights at Frederick's truly comes to a close. Recently, I've been covering a lot of very well-known fan games on this channel. Five Nights at Candy's, Pop Goes, and Animatronic Memories are probably names you're all familiar with. Recently, I've been looking for a FNAF game to cover that I personally had never heard of, and today I've definitely found one. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's super weird, but however, it does have its charm and an amazing story. So, let's waste no time and hop right into Tales of the Bunnyman. Tales of the Bunnyman opens with a cutscene that reminds me a lot of the old official Five Nights at Freddy's trailers, specifically Five Nights at Freddy's 2. We get several shots of the pizzeria interlaced with pieces of dialogue explaining the exposition of the story. We play as a man named Vincent Baldwin, who we later learn used to be a night guard and is one of the missing children's fathers, the father of Cassidy. We're entering the building to do some investigating and find out where our missing child went. And with our motive in mind, we're safe to head into Night 1 and start talking about what this game really has to offer. Night 1 introduces two characters, but before I start talking about them, I want to talk about the office itself. In our office, the first thing I want to get out of the way is this picture. I don't know who this is. I checked the wiki and couldn't figure out who this is. That's it. I just don't know who this is. Anyways, on to something actually important. The coolest thing I noticed about this office is that there are actually two rooms that we can move between. The typical office room and the boiler room. I'll talk more about the boiler room later when it becomes important. The door to the boiler room can be held shut, as animatronics will actually have to travel through it in order to get to your office. The only other things in our office is our camera system and a giant gift box. We can hide inside of this gift box to be able to protect ourselves from the first major threat of this night, Foxy. Foxy behaves pretty much exactly the same as in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. He starts on Pirate's Cove and makes his way through some phases before attacking. However, something unique about Foxy is he actually has two completely different attacks he can perform, each of which requires you to do something completely different to counteract him. The first attack he has is pretty simple. After he leaves Pirate's Cove, he will charge towards your office. When he does, you'll have to quickly jump inside the present until you hear him run away, after which you can jump back out and continue. His other attack is unfortunately a mechanic I've grown to dislike more and more as I play FNAF games. After leaving Pirate's Cove, Foxy has a chance to appear randomly on one of your cameras. When he does, all you have to do is find him and stare at him until he goes back to Pirate's Cove. This is mainly a me thing, but I've personally grown tired of the find them on the cameras mechanic. Yes, I do play Five Nights at Freddy's for a living, so yes, I'm going to see repeated mechanics a lot. Most sane people don't play as much Five Nights at Freddy's as I do, so most people won't find this mechanic to be that big of a deal, but hey, at least it's not a stupid fucking music box mechanic. We'll talk about that later. The only other threat introduced on this night is Bonnie. Bonnie is incredibly simple in how he works, as is typical in most FNAF games that feature him. Bonnie will make his way through the building and to your office. Afterwards, you'll be able to hear him at your door. You'll need to quickly go up to the door and hold it shut until you hear him leave, like Five Nights at Freddy's 4. When you do, you'll know it's safe to reopen the door and continue the night. Very basic. That's just how we like Bonnie, isn't it, guys? Right? You like it when Bonnie's basic, right? You wouldn't want Bonnie to just hop bottom right into your office and start fingering you, would you? Freak. And with that, we can move on to the post-night 1 minigame. Here's where we get to talking a lot about how cool this game really is. This game does narrative storytelling in a different way than any other FNAF game I've ever seen. Instead of an 8-bit minigame or a slideshow lore dump, Tales of the Bunnyman turns into a visual novel during the post-night sections, having you play in the perspective of a different character each night. I think this is actually super cool. While yes, you may think that it looks straight out of a My Hero Academia DeviantArt fan page, it is very clear that an amazing amount of care and effort went into these post-night sections, and that cannot go unnoticed. Before I really start talking about the lore of this game, I need to make it incredibly clear that there was so much poured into this story. There's so many details that I could point out that would make this video quite literally take hours to complete. And while I'd love to be able to talk about all of it, I don't have the confidence in myself to do so, and to be able to portray it in the way that it rightfully deserves. I'll be going over what happens in the story, but I won't be diving into every single minute detail, and I apologize if you were hoping that I would. Anyways, in this minigame, we play in the perspective of Jeremy Jr. Fitzgerald. After hanging out with his friends at Freddy Fazbear's, he notices that his mom has not yet come to pick him up. After waiting an extended period of time, he decides to just watch the performance on stage. Hearing a strange whistling coming from backstage, he enters to investigate, only to abruptly get abducted and murdered by the Bunny Man, going on to possess Bonnie. I honestly think that these post-night minigames are a breath of fresh air in this genre. I've never seen anything like it before, and I'd love to see more FNAF games try to do something new like this to tell their story. But now it's time for us to move on to Night 2. Night 2 only introduces one new thread, that being Chica. Chica does exactly what you'd expect her to do, and no, I don't mean eating until she pops like a balloon. What I really mean is moving through the cameras and then going to your office. Oh my fucking god, that is gross. Yuck. Fucking yuck, bro. She does go through one additional camera compared to Bonnie, making you see her less often than him, but other than that, she's exactly the same as Bonnie. I'll also use this night to talk about the only thing I dislike about this game. The mouse. Oh my god, this mouse is atrocious. Oh no, this mouse is really bad. If you're at all familiar with my channel, you'll already know that the way the mouse works is always something I'll have a problem with when fan games try to switch it up. In most FNAF games, when you move your mouse to the side of the screen will scroll in that direction until it hits the end of your office. That makes sense, and this is good. Tales of the Bunny Man instead decided to take a route similar to Sister Location. If you are to move your mouse to one side of the screen in Tales of the Bunny Man, your mouse won't follow the moving office. Instead, the game will keep track of its simulated X and Y positions in the office. And while this may sound super cool, in practice it leads to you having to move your mouse all the way across your desk or increasing your mouse's sensitivity to be able to make up for it. Is this nitpicky? Yes. But I am giving my opinion on a game, so I think it's important to talk about things that I notice, especially when it's the main interaction mechanic in the entire game. Anyways, moving on to the post-Night 2 minigame, where we play in the perspective of Susie Sutherland. The group of friends were supposed to play the newly installed arcade game, Pop Goes vs. the Machinist? 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 I don't know. Instead, she decides to split up from the group to go look for Bonnie. Walking around the building, we can talk to a kid named Ollie, who mentions something about Bonnie acting weird recently. Given the timeline of the events this game has, I'm fairly certain that this cutscene is taking place 16 days after Jeremy's disappearance. So I think it's safe to say that Jeremy at this point in time is already inside of the Bonnie costume. During this minigame is when Susie can also find a VHS tape relating to Edwin Murray. If you couldn't already tell, this game's story is heavily entwined with the official FNAF games. Later, Susie heads over to Pirate's Cove to get a peek at Foxy, getting startled by William inside of the Spring Bonnie suit. It's at this point I need to mention two things. One, why is this specific camera in the post-nights a 3D render instead of the usual 2D drawing? And two, why is William the only character in the entire game to have voice acting? Mr. Afton, don't scare me like that.
Now, what's a missy like you doing snooping around a pirate's property?
Why is he voice acting? I'm much more curious about my second question. I was a little caught off guard when I first heard him speak, since, again, nobody in the game thus far ever has. But regardless, that's not very important. After a brief, uncomfortable conversation with Afton, we meet up with our friends again at the new arcade machine, and as we play the game, we're seen being stalked by the Bunny Man. If you couldn't already guess, Susie Sutherland goes on to possess Chica. Now it's time to talk about Night 3, which introduces one new threat, Freddy and the Marionette. Now, pause. Let's just stop for a moment and talk about Freddy first, okay? Freddy, like Foxy, has two different attacks. We'll talk about the more simple one first. Freddy will make his way through the cameras and enter your boiler room. The reason he does so is to attempt to cut the power, because doing so will allow for the Marionette to come spread your buns and lick up your crack. To prevent this from happening, we will have to enter the boiler room and hold our flashlight on his face, causing him to bug out and leave the boiler room. However, before he does, we actually get to see him creepily tilt his body. Such a small detail, but I actually really like it. Now we can talk about the other mechanic Freddy has that I originally thought was going to make me want to skin an elephant. As previously mentioned, it's clear that Freddy wants to assist in helping the Marionette grope us. So, Freddy's other attack is him going to the music box to fuck up the Marionette's sleep schedule. Fun fact, I used to work a graveyard shift at a news station, and let me tell you, you don't want to fuck with nobody's sleep schedule, bro. So, in order to save the Marionette's sanity, we must remotely shut down the music box before Freddy can finish. Moving on to the Night 3 Post-9 minigame, we play in the perspective of Fritz Smith II. Let me tell you, this guy is a big fan of Foxy. So much so that he insists on constantly talking like a pirate, something that made me want to eat my own lungs throughout my playthrough because I was writhing in cringe. A.S. the worst one. It be fixin' to be jolly. What the fuck does that mean? Fritz leaves the group to go look for Foxy. Going to Pirate's Cove, he finds a decommissioned Foxy behind the curtains. Additionally, he finds a diary written by Henry. I guess for some reason, this is where Henry goes to vent, right next to the fucked up looking robot. A little weird, Henry, but you do you, boo. Inside of the diary, we read that Henry is struggling to cope with the loss of his daughter and his theory about Jeremy and Susie's disappearances having something to do with each other. Little did he know how right he truly was. Whilst continuing to read the diary, the Bunny Man appears behind him and drags him into the back room, all while taunting him, saying that he thought he was more interested in Foxy than Henry's diary. Fritz would go on to possess Foxy. Moving on to Night 4, we get to talk about a very odd threat, Balloon Boy. Yes, for some reason, Balloon Boy is in this game. Don't question it. I guess the developer of this game just hates fun. Balloon Boy isn't a very difficult threat to deal with, thankfully, instead serving more of an annoyance, which is very fitting for his character. Balloon Boy can only appear in two rooms in the entire game, the boiler room and your backstage camera. You'll have to listen out for a vent sound cue. When you hear it, you'll have to travel to the back room and find where Balloon Boy is, because, unlike Freddy, he has multiple different locations that he can stand in. Once you find Balloon Boy, just like Freddy, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on him until he goes away. I'm really not entirely sure why Balloon Boy exists in this game. I have yet to find any story reason for it either. Maybe it's just a popular character to put into the game, or maybe I'm just reading way too much into this. I'm not really sure. But hey, let's move on to the post-Night 4 minigame. In this minigame, we play as Gabriel Collins. Gabriel sneaks into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza because he has a hunch that his missing friends are still inside. Once he enters, he searches the location, eventually discovering the Marionette. They quickly become friends and begin exploring the establishment together. Eventually, they stumble across Michael and William Afton. William is trying to convince Michael to work as a performer, playing the character of Bonnie. But before we can hear anything else, William spots us. He chases us through the building, and the Marionette hides us in its gift box. However, unfortunately for Gabriel, William finds him anyway and is knocked out. He wakes up inside of the Freddy Fazbear costume, watching William Afton jump around the dining room, mocking him through his last breaths. Gabriel would then go on to possess Freddy. This is easily one of the most fucked up cutscenes throughout the entire game. I'm no edgelord as some people seem to think I am, but I really enjoy when games show us the depraved things that the villains do. I and many others don't want to just hear about things happening, we want to see them as well. Of course, I don't think we all want to literally see the children getting murdered, but I think showing off the situations in the way that Tales of the Bunnyman does is incredibly interesting. Next, we get to move on to Night 5, the final main night in Tales of the Bunnyman. This night adds Fredbear, an interesting but fitting final character choice. Fredbear acts as an everything character, being able to take on the role of every animatronic besides Balloon Boy and Foxy. However, unlike most everything nights that take place in other FNAF games, Fredbear is active alongside each other animatronic, adding one more layer of stress to the nights. Again, he doesn't have any unique mechanics by himself, but this time I'm honestly okay with that, only because the other characters are still active. It's at this point I want to bring up something I should have brought up a long time ago: the character designs. From what I've seen, the community seems to be pretty split on their opinions of these character designs. A lot of people love them and think that in combination with the grungy environment, it makes them look very creepy. However, on the other hand, I've seen plenty of people who think that the designs look unprofessional and seemingly come out of a game that came out many years ago. I personally have no problems with the character designs. I think they look creepy and uncomfortable. However, I do think that the texturing on the characters does look a bit odd, but nothing that I feel takes away from the immersion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, since I'm being a little meta right now, go subscribe to my new channel, Dxtr Gray. I cover non-FNAF horror games over there, and we have a lot of fun. Anyways, moving on to the final post-night minigame where we play in the perspective of Cassandra Baldwin, or better known, Cassidy. Now, noticing that she's the only member of her friend group that hasn't gone missing, she vows to figure out what happened to them and find where they all disappeared to. Entering the back room, she finds a Fredbear plushie which, throughout the game, has been shown to be able to teleport on its own, and yet, for some reason, nobody felt like that was weird at all. This is really the only gripe I have with this story, the plushie teleporting around, and multiple people know about this, yet nobody is at all a little concerned about it. On top of that, it is literally never once elaborated on or explained why this happens. I can't even draw a conclusion because there's quite literally no reason, but let's try to put that behind us for a moment and continue. We do know that the plushie is being used by Afton to lure Cassidy into the back room. Now pause. I know I just said there's literally no reason given as to why it's teleporting, and you may be questioning why I said that even though I just stated that William was using it to lure Cassidy. However, that still doesn't explain how it was fucking teleporting, and still doesn't explain why nobody gave that a second thought. Anyways, Cassidy is successfully lured into the back room. Scared, Cassidy runs out of the pizzeria and later returns for a Halloween party. Baka! I know that's not what that says, I'm sorry. As she explores, she's found by the bunny man who presumably knocks her out after stating, "You forgot me." She awakens to find herself inside of the Fredbear costume. William explains that originally he planned to save the Fredbear costume for Henry, but decided to use it for Cassidy instead. During their conversation, it's revealed that Vincent, the character that we've been playing as in the night sections, according to William, is a terrible night guard, which would technically leave him responsible for not noticing the children's disappearances on the camera, since every action that William had been taking was done under the constant surveillance of those cameras, including what's happening right now in front of us. This would give us a perfect reason as to why he's returning to the restaurant now to find his daughter, because he didn't watch her like he was supposed to. He never saw what happened. Afterwards, we get one last cutscene. Vincent walks up to the Fredbear animatronic and realizes it's his daughter. However, he trips and falls, which leads to him getting killed by his own daughter, and Tales of the Bunnyman abruptly comes to a close. Almost. There's actually one more thing to talk about, that being Night 6, or as this game calls it, the epilogue. In it, after completing the final challenge, which is just a harder version of Night 5, we see the line, "He finally found the suit that will become his tomb, the last lingering piece of his soul." A good song never dies. With that, we get to watch William's springlock failure and onlook as he bleeds out. We're shown that Vincent, our character, was found dead inside of Freddy Fazbear's, and several news outlets labeled him as the reason the kids were murdered. I can't lie to you guys, I'm really eager to talk about this story, since after reading into it, I actually think it's really good, and it's clear that a bunch of effort was put into it. But like I said previously, I'm just not confident in my abilities to do it for myself. I've tossed around the idea of just reading the highly detailed explanation on the wiki that was written by somebody that was far more talented than I am, but I've decided against doing that since I don't want to come off as lazy and uninspired. And as much as I hate saying this, I'd highly recommend you go to the wiki and read up on it. It's actually such an amazingly well-written story, and I think it might just be one of the best takes on the official FNAF story I've ever seen. Overall, I think Tales of the Bunnyman is an enjoyable experience. The post-night minigames are interesting, and the story is fantastic and told in a way that isn't overtly confusing like most FNAF games like to be. However, I do think that the actual gameplay mechanics are pretty lackluster. Not only does each character not really have synergy with one another, this game is also just too easy. Throughout the nights, it never really feels like the characters are becoming more aggressive, which tends to lead to boring nights where you're just waiting for the much more enjoyable minigame sections. Who is your favorite Five Nights at Freddy's game developer? Maybe it's Mixlas for the amazing Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. Maybe it's Scott Cawthon himself for making the series we all love so much today. My answer should be pretty obvious if you're at all familiar with my channel, and that developer is Garrett McKay, responsible for amazing games I've covered on this channel like Fredbear's Frights and A Bite at Freddy's. He was also a 3D modeler for Pop Goes Evergreen, but he's also responsible for another amazing project, a project I've been asked to cover many times ever since the release of my review of Fredbear's Fright. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Fredbear and Friends Left to Rot, which is the game I will finally be covering in this video. Going into Left to Rot, I had no idea what to expect. I had seen absolutely nothing about the game going into it, which is how I go into most of the games I cover on this channel. All I knew was the game's developer, who I already had a lot of confidence in. So let's waste no time and jump into the long-awaited coverage of Fredbear and Friends Left to Rot. Rather than throwing you into a menu screen like most FNAF games, Left to Rot begins with a cutscene, similar to Garrett's other works. This cutscene appears to be an instruction tape, informing workers how to switch from the old Fredbear and Spring Bonnie animatronics over to the new and improved Freddy and Bonnie. We have to dismantle the old animatronics and replace them, afterwards adding Chica by Freddy's side. This is actually really interesting. Instead of just replacing the animatronics, we sort of reused some of the endoskeleton pieces from the old models, meaning that, technically, Fredbear is still a part of Freddy, and Spring Bonnie is still a part of Bonnie. Something interesting to think about. After this cutscene, we're actually thrown into another cutscene. We're in a car on the phone with an unknown person. We're told by this person that we're supposed to enter an unnamed building and head straight into the office. Slowly disabling all of the building's systems, we're told that the animatronics inside act as security, and if they touch us, it's not gonna be fun. I know all of you goons think differently, so don't even start with the comments. We enter the building and the real gameplay can't begin. On this night, we're in the observatory, and our main goal is to get through each camera and disable their audio and their video. That doesn't sound very difficult, Dxtr. Shut the fuck up. You know full well there's gonna be some animatussies trying to hit us from the back. The three characters trying to grab up on us are Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, and the prototype. Fredbear is pretty simple. If you see him standing approximately 6 feet away from you, aka close enough to smell his rancid breath, jump under the desk like they're the trenches in World War I and pray to God that his breath isn't the equivalent to mustard gas. Once he leaves, you can pop back up. Spring Bonnie is much the same, only instead of his breath smelling like all the dead fish on Earth, Spring Bonnie's breath smells like ass. Because you know what they say, you are what you eat, and he's eating a whole lot of ass. Did you know back in middle school when all of the kids were saying what they wanted to be when they grew up? Some kids said firefighter, some kids said police officer. This motherfucker right here said, I wanna be an astronaut. I wanna explore booty. Absolutely foul robot. The prototype is a bit different, however. Just being an endoskeleton, he really doesn't have any meat on the bones, meaning there's nothing for you freaks to grab up on. Usually, my metaphors have to deal with the robots touching us, but after reading some of your feral comments, I get the feeling my metaphor should be the other way around. Anyways, if the endoskeleton is in your office, just flash your light at him and he'll go away. Overall, this room isn't too difficult, but really shows off just how creepy the atmosphere for the rest of the game is going to be. Also, yes, I said room, not night that time, because this entire game takes place in a single night, as we make our way through a giant building trying to find something that is so far unknown to us. Let's waste no time and hop into the next room. Before we can go into the next room, however, we have another minigame / cutscene to go through. In this one, we see Freddy, who is actually talking to us. This, by the way, is just another tutorial tape for employees where they're shown how they can remotely control the animatronics while they're on stage. We move his jaw, and my favorite, make him shake like he's having a seizure. Jumping into the next phone call, we stand outside of a mysterious door. Are your nuts quaking staring at this door? Mine are. We're told that behind that door is a storage room, and that inside there are some items that we need to collect. Entering the room, we grab a few remotes and a larger screen. Not totally sure what these things are. Maybe a camera system? Who knows? Now all we need to do is walk out of this door right here and oh god damn it, of course it doesn't have any power. This is gonna be a survival section, isn't it? Hey, future Dxtr here. He's right. It's a survival section. To prevent this Dxtr from going apeshit feral mode, I'm going to take over this section for him. In this section, we have to charge up the door we need to exit through, while staying safe from Max. Who the fuck is Max, I hear you asking? I have no idea. But he's behind this curtain. Seems to be a puppet type thing, I'm not really sure. As we, slowly as fuck, charge up this door, Max will start making moves, and we have to keep him behind the curtain by flashing our light at him. This room is incredibly easy. Max does not move very fast, and even though the door takes about 2 decades to charge, you won't really ever feel in danger throughout. Going through the dark doorway, we continue. Before entering the next room, we have to interact with yet another tape. This one teaches us how to test arcade machines. We have to play 2 fuck-ass minigames that I hate in order to continue. The first game where you play as Spring Bonnie in space, having to shoot little Bonnies at pizza to defend who the fuck knows what. This game takes so goddamn long to complete. I'm actually getting sick to my stomach even thinking about it. The second game we have to test is an interesting one, to say the least. We play as Sneaky Guy. Who the fuck is Sneaky Guy? I don't know. All you do in this game is run around aimlessly through rooms until the game just shits itself. Thank you, Fredbear and Friends Left to Rot. What a great use of my time. After that, we immediately enter Test Room 1, which is just a child's bedroom. A little weird why that would be a test room, but we're going to pretend like that isn't incredibly alarming. The guy on the phone tells us that he's not entirely sure what's actually in this room for us to collect. But before he can say anything else, the phone call goes to static and cuts out, leaving us alone for the very first time. Oh shit, guys, I just pissed the bed. Editor, can you bring a mop, please, and clean up the piss mess all over the fucking bed? Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I know this is such a big pissy mess, but I don't know what happened to me. Usually I'm better at this. I mean, look at this mess. It's got to be at least a gallon or 2. Thank you, editor. I apologize for this disgusting inconvenience. You can leave now. Thank you again. Sorry about that, guys. Let's just talk about the room now. In this room, the goal is to pry open this vent, slowly as fuck. While we're trying to open this vent, we're being attacked by 2 animatronics of which I don't know the names of, so for the sake of this section, I will be calling them Freak Bob number 1 and Freak Bob number 2. Freak Bob number 1 attacks from the door to the room that's in front of you when the night begins. He will appear at random in the doorway, making a sound cue to let you know he's there. All you have to do is quickly whip around and flash him. With your light, not your genitals. Fucking weirdo. You also have to make sure that Freak Bob number 1's toy stays wound up. If you don't, Freak Bob number 1 himself is going to get wound up. Sexual style. And it's not going to be very fun for you. Freak Bob number 2 is pretty much a nerfed version of Freak Bob number 1, being at your closet door instead. If you hear him, flash your light at him and he'll piss off. No toy to crank, very simple. The only struggle to this room is actually not falling asleep while you wait for this slow ass, fuck ass, dumb ass, stupid ass, fuck vent to open. Alright, pause. Time for me to cut in. This last Dxtr was supposed to stay calm, but apparently he couldn't do it either. So hi, I'm Dxtr number 3, and I'll be taking over from here. Shoo, now, get out. Thank you. Alright, where were we? Oh yes. Once the vent has been pried open, you're safe to crawl through and move on to the next room. Exiting the vent, we see an exit door. But before we get the opportunity to leave this hellhole, we get jumped by some fuck-ass animatronic who knocks us out. We wake up inside of an unknown room with a tape in front of us. Playing it, we find it's one of the tapes heard in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, teaching us how to climb in and out of spring-lock costumes. Oh no, this is about to be bad. After listening to the tape, we go over to a Fredbear costume and open it up. Climbing inside, we slowly lower the suit onto our bodies. Once inside, we play the next tape. As the phone guy tells us not to breathe on the spring locks, we immediately start breathing on the spring locks. This is F-student behavior right here, by the way. Of course, we die, and now's the time I should say that this is definitely not our player in this cutscene. I say that because after this death, we enter test room 2. Oh boy. Test room 2. How I hate you. In test room 2, the most immediate threat is the toxicity of the room we are in. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy have been literally ripping ass and hotboxing this room for the last 12 years, and without a gas mask, we will soon die because of it. Luckily for us, we have a gas mask. Putting it on decreases our toxicity level, but whenever the mask is off, it will very quickly begin to climb back up. Dxtr, that doesn't sound too bad. Shut the hell up. I haven't even started talking about the animatronics in this godforsaken room yet. Let's start with Freddy and Chica, shall we? These two work pretty much exactly the same, with only one small difference. Freddy and Chica will enter your vents in an attempt to get to you. When you see them in your vents via your cameras, you will have to temporarily disable the fans in those vents to gas them out and make them leave. However, when you disable a vent fan, your toxicity will increase dramatically faster than you can handle, so you need to make sure you're listening for the vent sound cue to let you know they left so that you can quickly turn the fans back on. I said there was a difference between Freddy and Chica, and the only difference is that Freddy is goated and you'll be able to see him in the hallway, giving you a better warning as to when he's about to enter your vent. Bonnie is the next annoying character, so let's talk about him. Bonnie will appear behind you in your window. When you see him, he will lean in real close to give you a kiss. Now pause. While you may feel enticed to reciprocate, I would advise against that. Little did you know, Bonnie doesn't know what a toothbrush is. So unless you're the most disgusting human being on the planet, kissing someone like that probably isn't the best idea. When Bonnie leans in, what you should be doing instead is putting your gas mask on, which scares him away for some reason. Maybe it's because he took the hint that you don't want to kiss him. That's my best guess. But now, we need to talk about the behemoth, Foxy. Allow me to keep my composure when I say this.
This is fucking bullshit! Fuck this stupid ass, fuck ass, dumb ass, bitch ass, dunce ass fox! God damn, gonna give a brother an aneurysm with this dick!
Alright, I said it. I've tried to fight the demons throughout this entire video, but I just can't anymore. I guess I'm not allowed to just be calm and do a normal review without freaking out and losing my goddamn mind. This second test room broke me. This second test room is the bane of my existence. I cannot stand it. Foxy will appear in your hallway. When he does, you need to shut off the power to your office, which means no checking cameras, no blocking vents, and my favorite, no turning around to check on Bonnie! Fuck! Fuck! Why are you doing this to me, game? What did I do to you? Garrett, look at me! Look at me with my fucking eyes right now! What happened to you? What did someone do to you to make you design something so absolutely foul, devious, and soul-degrading. I cannot describe how angry I am at this room. You can see my reaction over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. When you have to turn the lights off, you have to do so for such a long time. Enough time to take a nap. Fuck it, right? Why not? And how long do you have to deal with this shit-ass cycle for? 6 minutes. 6 soul-sucking fuck-ass minutes. I was so close to ripping out my pubic hair with my teeth while suffering through this horrendous room. 6 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but trust me, this is the longest 6 minutes I've ever been through, especially when I died at 5 minutes about 100 times. I'm drained, completely drained. I don't know if I can continue writing about this game. I don't know if I can complete it. Not so bad when you listen. You know, maybe if you listen more often, people wouldn't call you butt as fuck. Oh my god, that noise scared the fuck out of me, but I did it. Damn! Half an hour on that bullshit! I did it. God, it is real! Thank God! I thought I'd never escape that bullshit! Oh my god. This is making me want to go outside and appreciate life. Fuck FNAF. Fuck YouTube. I need to be out in nature. No, actually, scratch that. Women are outside, and women are scary. Let's stay inside where it's safe and no woman would ever go, and continue to the next cutscene. The next cutscene has us learn how to clean a fursuit, something Cord Kitty should have taken notes on. Freaky fuck. After cleaning the suit, we're thrown into the final test, which is unironically my favorite section in this entire game. During this final test, we have to send what the game calls the suit into the office. This suit will move around the cameras, and whenever we see him without his eyes glowing, we need to press the return button. After doing this about 5 times, the final test is over. Congrats, you've just beaten— Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Of course there's more than that. On top of the suit, we have a few other threats to deal with. Let's start with the Lil Bonnie. Side note, I know these guys have actual names, but I think Lil Bonnie sounds better, so kick rocks. Lil Bonnie will occasionally pop into your office. When he does, all you have to do is use the jumper cables on your desk to shock his nipples and scare him away. Lil Freddy is probably my favorite character in this entire game, however. He will occasionally appear in your window. You'll notice a piece of paper on the window as well. When you see Lil Freddy, you'll have to move the paper to cover his eyes so he can't see you, confirming that Freddy has no object permanence. Lil Golden Freddy is the last character to talk about. He can jump in front of your cameras, fucking them up. And when you see him doing this, all you have to do is reboot the cameras and it's GG easy. After moving the suit successfully to the office, the power goes out, and it looks like Golden Freddy appears in front of us. We try desperately to use a remote control to shock him, but it doesn't work. He lunges at us, cutting to black. We cut back to see the bathroom camera from 5 Nights at Freddy's 1, and Golden Freddy waving us into the female restroom for some reason. A little bit of a creep freak, if you ask me. Shortly after, he kinda just stares at the camera all weird like. Before we're shown we got the tragic ending. Endings? Oh no. So, in my playthrough on Dxtr Black, for some reason I never got the other endings. I have no idea why. I have no idea what's wrong with me. But don't worry, I'll cover them here. Just know that from this point forward, all the footage you will see is from Dice Games. Thank you for actually completing this game, Dice, like I didn't do for some reason. Before I cover all the endings, I need to quickly talk about Insane Mode, found in the Extras menu. It's a much more challenging version of Test Room 2, which, fuck that. No way in hell I'm even thinking about touching that bullshit, and I didn't on my playthrough on Dxtr Black either. Maybe that's the reason I never got the other endings. Anyways, after beating Insane Mode, we're greeted to what looks to be Freak Bob number 2 from Test Room 1 lying on the ground. The guy on the phone apologizes and says that they will soon go after Afton. We're shown a piece of paper that reads the following. Experiment number 3 notes. Experiment number 3 tests the binding effects of the high energy substance variable to surfaces larger than those in experiments 1 and 2. As the surface variable increases in size, the energy output decreases only slightly. The surface tested on for this experiment was the Mouseki version 2 animatronic. It is unknown whether the results were influenced by integrated motor components of the surface. 2 more experiments will be necessary to evaluate for bias. Experiment overall successful. More details in the experiment log. As some people are aware, Garrett McKay's games are connected. In this note is a reference to Mouseiky from Fredbear's Fright. It appears that Freak Bob number 2 might actually just be an earlier version of Mouseiky. Now, back to ending grinding. Going all the way back to the phone call before the storage room section, if instead of going straight into the storage room like I did, you instead can turn left and you'll find a safe. Inputting the code 321975, the safe will open and you'll be able to take a small remote out. Using this remote, we can go back to the final test room and use that remote to shock the suit as it enters our office, fucking its shit up, making it get its jiggy on, giving us the good ending. We're greeted to a final cutscene where we box up Fredbear and Spring Bonnie for good, and we're told that because of William Afton, the company has to be sold and the building will be locked up forever. Now's the time where I need to talk about Custom Night. Usually I never talk about custom nights in my reviews, but the custom night in this game is actually very important. There are several pre-built custom challenges that give fun rewards like in FNAF 2, but the all 20 mode is the challenge that's really important. So let's go over how everything works. On custom night, we're in an office we've never seen before, with 4 monitors and 2 hallways leading to our office. First, how do we win? Well, on the 4th monitor, you'll see a list of detections. This is just like the mechanics from Pizzeria Simulator, where we have to deactivate everything on the monitor in order for the night to end. There are actually 2 pages of detections, meaning that we have 10 total to deactivate, and goddamn does it take a long time to even deactivate one of them. So cool, easy enough. Now, what about the threats? Let's start with Timothy, or as we've been calling him, Freak Bob number 2. Timothy will appear in the right hallway of your office. When you see him there, you'll have to use your hyper flash to scare him off. Next up is the prototype. He's pretty similar to Freak Bob number 2. He will appear in the left hallway of your office, and instead of using the hyper flash, you'll have to shine your light at him until he decides it's time to goon again and leaves. Next on the chopping block is Roger, aka the Freak Bob number 1 toy. He just kinda chills on your desk. Keep him wound up to stop him from chomping on that delectable tush you've got. The suit is next. He appears on your 3rd monitor, which has 2 cameras. If you ever see him on any of them, you need to press the advance button to make him run away like a little bitch. Next up is Jeffrey, or as we've called him, Lil Freddy. Lil Freddy will appear on your 1st monitor, which has 4 cameras. If you see him on one, you need to make that camera go to static so he doesn't see you. Remember, he has no object permanence. Barry is up next, aka Lil Bonnie. He'll appear on the 2nd monitor. It'll be kind of hard to see because of how dark it is, but when you do see him, you need to shock his nipples again. That gets his rocks off. And finally, we have Lewis, or of course, better known as Lil Golden Freddy. Lewis can appear on any of your monitors, and when you see him, you need to reboot it as fast as possible, making him probably the most annoying character in all of Custom Night. The combination of all these characters together is brutal. You will barely have time to do the tasks you need to complete this night. I, of course, have not beaten all 20 mode because I value my sanity, but to anyone who has beaten this like Dice Games, congrats because this is nuts. After completing 720 mode, you unlock access to a final minigame. You play as a character in black inside of one of the pizzerias. You turn off the power to the building and get inside of a Fredbear costume and go to the office to, quote, find the intruder. Once in the office, you grab the security guard and drag him away, giving us the getaway ending, with text displayed on screen stating no one will believe him. We also get a little creep shot of a foot that I know you guys are wanting to give a quick lick. Don't even lie. I actually have a small theory that this minigame shows what really happened in the final test room of this game. 2D FNAF fan games. Some of the most interesting, fun, and unique fan games in the entire genre. Find me one of them that doesn't do something cool. I dare you. Five Nights at Frederick's, Five Nights at Frick Bears, One Night at Flumpty's. All of these games are amazing for their own unique reasons. And that's because they do things that nobody else does. Today, we're going to be talking about another 2D FNAF fan game that the community absolutely adored upon its release. It reminds me a lot of what the community had to say about Cuphead when that game was first released. We've got plenty to talk about today, and a whole bunch of rage to get out of my system. So strap in and join me today as we dive into the world of 5 Newfangled Nights. Night 1 opens to a cutscene of the restaurant with a help wanted sign outside. Then we get this lovely cutscene.
Where am I?
Hi!
Ah!
Hey, it's okay. I won't bite.
Who are you?
Oh, right. Where are my manners? I'm Jeremy.
What happened to your,
Oh, this whole thing? I'm, mortally challenged? Dead.
Oh. Wait, if you're dead, then how am I talking to you?
Well, that's the thing. You're also living impaired. Dead. You're kind of dead too.
I don't feel dead.
Yeah, you don't really notice till the glow kicks in.
What?
Anywho, let's get out of here. This closet's a bit stuffy in here. Come on, I'll introduce you to the others.
Others?
Follow me. Okay, this is Susie,
Hi.
Fritz,
Hey.
and Gabe.
Hello.
Gabe, we're over here.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Cassie. So how did we end up like this?
We were murdered in the back of the restaurant.
Fritz?
What? I'm being honest.
That's horrible! Who would do such a thing? Oh, just the night guard. The night guard?
Yeah, the night guard in the back. Lured us to parts and service, sliced and diced us, and hit our bodies.
And you guys just let him get away with it?
Well, yeah. He killed us. He works minimum wage, though. I feel like that's even.
No, it isn't. We gotta do something. Something to him. I say we kill him.
Hide!
Now, how to do it?
We could use the suits.
What suits?
Oh, yeah, the mascot suit. It's where the killers hid our bodies. We hop into these tin cans, and we can walk around as a bunch of furry robots.
That could work.
Okay, we can try dibs.
Oh, man. Okay, Jeremy. Hop into one of those suits and teach that jerk a lesson.
Who?
The night guard.
What about him?
We're gonna kill him.
Oh, right. Don't worry, Cassie. I'll give him the oh, what for?
Wasn't that just adorable? I actually really like the cutscenes that this game has. It makes it feel super unique and it's a break from the action. However corny and unfunny I think the jokes are, I do kind of think that's also the point. Anyways, on to the actual night section where we can start talking about everything that this game has to offer. To begin, let's start with the tools at our disposal, of which there is a decent handful. Not a lot, just enough for me to taste it a little bit and go, oh boy. Shout out if you get that one. Anyways, we have a phone in which we receive phone calls that I will immediately hang up like I do with my crazy ex-girlfriend when she called me 30 to 50 times a day for the first 2 weeks after I broke up with her. Can you guys guess the reason why I'm going to be skipping these calls? If you said because it's my job to explain to you what happens in this game, then you'd be exactly right. Congratulations. We obviously have a camera system, but this one is a bit interesting. I've never quite seen one like it before. We get just this teeny tiny little screen that we can barely see fuck on, and then a bunch of levers at the bottom that let us surf through the cameras. We can also shut the cameras off too. I'm sure we'll never have to do that though. Anyways, we also have 2 doors, except only one of them matters because it's the only one that can actually be closed. The other one is just kind of there. Side tangent, why do most FNAF games have 2 doors to the office? Like, I never understood that. What architect decided, you know what this room needs? 2 entrances. Like, why? Why is that even a thing? Like, for what reasonable purpose could that possibly serve? I don't fucking know. Night 1 introduces, you guessed it, Bonnie. And as per usual, he's our favorite early game boring dick-ass character. And that's just how we like him, isn't it, everybody? Bonnie is as simple as you could imagine because he behaves quite literally the exact same as every other Bonnie to ever exist in the history of fuck. He will wander through the cameras until he reaches your left door. Thankfully, this game was kind enough to use sound cues so I don't have to rip my pubes out. When you see Bonnie at your door, all you have to do is hold the door closed, since this door is a manual and not an automatic, which reminds me of those entitled fucks who think they're better than everybody just because they drive a stick shift. Hate to break it to you, dickhead, nobody gives a fuck about your stupid ass car. You can go put that shifter right in your gooch. Of course, just hold the door closed for as long as Bonnie is there and he'll eventually leave and you can open it again. However, as I'm sure you could have already imagined, since Bonnie is the only threat during this entire night, all you need to do is hold it shut the entire night and you can win while basically doing absolutely nothing at all. Congrats! And guys, I know it's been a while since we've heard something like this on this channel, but this game actually has a post-night minigame. Yeah, I know. Isn't it beautiful? I feel like it's been so long since I've had some shit to complain about. Don't look at the last 3 videos. Those aren't real. In this game, we play Whack a Bonnie, which is just the best thing I've ever seen. The only thing that could possibly make it better is if it was either Toy Bonnie or my evil arch nemesis, Sheriff Slitherdick. You're obviously timed during this minigame, and your goal is to get 35 points. If you can successfully do this, then you'll skip the first 2 hours of the next night. I see we're taking a page out of the FNAF 4 playbook in this game, and I appreciate it. I really do. Too bad I'm dog shit at Whack-A-Mole and much better at a much more enjoyable game, Whack My Willy. Holy fuck, I'm gonna kill myself.
How'd it go, Jeremy?
Yeah. I didn't get him.
Why? What happened?
Well, I kind of sort of forgot what I was doing. Kind of hard to remember things with, you know.
Well, all you gotta do is reach into the office and grab him.
Great idea.
We might need some backup.
How about Gabe? He pilots the bear suit pretty darn well.
Well, what do you say, Gabe?
Well, I wouldn't want to encroach on anyone else's turn. Susie, why don't you give it a try?
Oh, sure. I'll go. I'd like to give that meanie a taste of his own medicine. All right, go ahead, Susie. Eee! Let me just take care of something real quick. Attention! All right, Bonnie. You take Carl, and I'll take Chica.
All right, night 2. Are you ready? Well, you better be because it's time to start talking about it. Night 2 opens with the tip to keep an eye on those doors. And like, no fucking shit, that's one of the core mechanics of the game. Why would I not keep my eyes on it? That's just a stupid, worthless tip. I got a tip this game can suck on. I'm sorry. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats. However, you could technically argue that they're one and the same, except not really, so I don't even know why I just said that. Night 2 introduces Chica and Carl, because in this game, Carl is actually his own character with his own mechanic, which I do think is super cool. Chica is pretty simple, although I do think she actually has one of the most interesting mechanics I've ever seen. And I swear, I'm not joking about that. I actually think it's super fucking cool. Chica will wander around the cameras until she eventually attacks your right door, as she tends to do in most games she's present in. She also makes a sound cue, and it's her giant ass, fat, rusty ass clanker feet stomping directly in your ear. When you hear her coming, shortly after you will actually see her walking through your office, which is just fucking awesome. I can't even lie, I love this. She will always walk from the right side to the left side of your office, and she won't attack you when she's in your office, which I personally find to be really weird because why doesn't she just kill you? She already made it into your office. Like, dude, you won. Come get me, bro, I lose. What you really have to do is just make sure that your left door isn't closed by the time she gets over to it. You seriously have to let her walk all the way through your office. If she bumps her big, fat, juicy bird ass into your door, only then will she actually kill you. So, if you haven't found the strategy yet because you're blind, deaf, or retarded, just hold the door closed the entire night unless Chica is walking through the office. However, we still have another little poop goblin to talk about. That, of course, being Carl, who is incredibly easy to deal with. Occasionally, he will appear on your desk and start spinning around in circles. All you have to do is click on him and he'll go away. If you somehow manage to die to Carl, you should attempt a backflip off the roof of your house just to see what happens. Carl is simple, literally the most non-threatening character in this entire game. Alright, on to the post-night minigame, which is pretty much exactly the same as the first. Once again, we're playing Whack-A-Bonnie and we need 35 points. However, this time around, we actually have a threat that can end the run early. That being, once again, Poop Goblin Carl. Carl will slowly make his way all the way down the arcade cabinet. I guess when he reaches the bottom, he shuts it off or something. I really have no idea, I can't lie. But let's just imagine that's what happens. All you have to do is click him to keep him away. If he reaches the bottom, the minigame ends early and you don't get to skip the first 2 hours of night 3. Speaking of night 3,
How'd it go, Susie? Did you get him? Not yet, Miss Cassie. But I got the perfect plan. I walk into the office, and that's it. I'm sure to give him a heart attack eventually. Gabe, you gotta help us out here.
Well, I don't know.
Please, Gabe, we could really use an extra hand.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Thank you, Gabe.
Okay, here I go.
Gabe, wrong suit.
Oops, sorry.
Oh boy, I better go help him out. Gabe can be a real nervous Nelly when he's the center of attention.
This could actually work. You two just keep doing what you're doing.
Sir, yes,
Okey-dokey.
ma'am.
night 3 opens with the tip, hide when he is close. Not really liking the sound of that, in all honesty. So how about we just learn which threat is introduced tonight? Well, spoiler alert, both Freddy and Foxy are introduced on night 3, bringing the total character count already up to 5, which is just really the worst feeling on the face of the earth. And it's on this night where the game actually starts to become a challenge, because up to this point, it's been incredibly piss easy. Let's start by talking about Foxy, since he's undoubtedly the easiest to deal with out of the two. Foxy can only attack your left door, probably because that's the one that actually has a fucking door on it. He has 2 sound cues that can play. One of them is very loud and sounds like a crowded train station for some reason, and the other is quiet as shit. However, I still don't think you'll actually ever miss it, so you should be Bing chilling. That's a little bit of Chinese for you guys. Shout out to all my Chinese senoritas. I know that's Spanish, but fuck you, I don't know Chinese at all. Foxy sits his fat ass in Pirate's Cove, if you can imagine that, and as far as I'm aware, looking at him on the cameras doesn't stall him, so don't even bother doing that. Not that you'd want to, since I'm willing to bet that you could probably contract scurvy just by looking at this guy, since he'll suck all the vitamin C out of your dick. Body! I meant body. Shut up. Now Freddy. Oh boy. Freddy is by far one of the most confusing characters in this entire game. Learning how he actually worked took me an embarrassingly long time, but we're not going to talk about that. Instead, we're just going to talk about how you're actually supposed to deal with him. The game tells you that you need to hide from Freddy, but it literally never once tells you what hiding actually means. I'm getting flashbacks to the last 2 games I covered, guys, because what do you mean this game isn't telling me something again? It's okay. I've managed to settle the demon. Let's continue. Freddy will slowly move throughout the cameras until he reaches the dreaded camera 6. Dreaded camera 6 is the final camera he'll go to before he enters your office and slaps his penis in between your butt cheeks. You can slow him down from reaching your office by staring at him on the cameras. However, you'll never actually be able to push him backwards. So in all honesty, I would really just recommend you let him attack you. Once he actually does attack you, we still have to answer the question of what the fuck hiding actually means. Well, let me tell you, it's really fucking stupid, and I hate it. When we're looking at the cameras, we're actually turned around. It's not like most FNAF games where we pull up a camera. We physically turn around, and the camera system is behind us. By turning around and shutting off the power, this is what hiding actually is. Does the game ever tell you that this is what hiding is? Fucking of course not, because that would make too much sense. Let's just make the player guess instead. Fuck them, right? you'll be able to see Freddy walk through your office, and once he leaves, you can turn the power back on and continue the night as usual. But I'll be so honest, the amount of time I spent trying to figure out what the fuck to do when Freddy attacks is embarrassing. Strategy for this night isn't honestly too bad. Really just do what you've been doing, listen for Foxy sound cues, and every few seconds just turn around to watch and stall Freddy. And of course, hide when you need to. Not a huge problem once you actually know what to do. The problem is just figuring out what the fuck you need to do. The post-night minigame on night 3 is once again the same as before, just with a little something extra to spice it up, like when I purposefully don't put on deodorant before a 12-hour flight. Just gotta keep things interesting. This time, the extra addition is Bonnie being behind you trying to butt-fuck your pussy. Every once in a while, you'll have to turn around and flash him to prevent him from doing exactly that. If you still manage to win, skipping 2 hours of night 4 is what's in store for you. And speaking of night 4...
Anything?
Sorry, Cass. No dice yet.
How about you, Gabe?
I kind of froze up. Sorry, Cassie.
It's all right, Gabe. We'll get the run-up on him eventually.
Speaking of, where's Fritz?
Frackum. Gosh darn.
What's the matter, Mr. Fritz?
It's that stupid door. I can't get past that darn thing.
Well, did you try the other hall?
No, I didn't. What?
Fritz, you know there's 2 hallways, right?
Eh?
Look.
Oh my gosh. Okay, new plan. I'll stall the guard as long as I can. You guys just keep doing what you're doing.
All right, fellas, you heard the man. You got it.
Okay, Cassie.
Where am I?
Night 4 gives a tip that Foxy can go to any camera. Why are we being told this when all Foxy does is attack your door? Well, guess what? Night 4 is where this game really starts to become hell on earth and makes me want to jerk off no lotion with sandpaper glued to my hand. So let's just talk about it. This night doesn't introduce a new threat. However, it does rework how Foxy attacks you entirely and makes him by far the most frustrating piece of shit, bullshit, dick-ass character in this entire goddamn game. This is the night where Foxy becomes an eye slut. And if any of you aren't familiar with the channel, an eye slut is a term I coined to reference a character in a FNAF game whose entire mechanic is just having to stare at them the entire time, and that's literally it. Easily one of the worst dynamics in a FNAF game, and here we are dealing with it. Foxy will slowly peer out of Pirate's Cove like usual, and just like the previous night, staring at him does not stall him like it does for Freddy. Once Foxy leaves the cove, instead of going to your door like he did in night 3, he instead does something so fucking heinously disgusting it makes me want to vomit down a water slide, race it to the bottom, and catch it all in my mouth, only to vomit again. Once Foxy leaves the cove, he will teleport to a random fucking camera with no sound cue whatsoever, and you have to go fucking find him. Are you kidding me? Are you fingering my butthole right now? What is wrong with your game? Why did you have to do this to me? This is actually so bullshit. And you want to hear the best part? Yeah. Well, once you find him and stare at him until he goes away, he'll teleport to another random fucking camera again. And once you find him there, he fucking does it again! No, I'm not kidding! And the most fucked up part, after you find him for the 3rd goddamn cock-sucking time, there is a chance that you'll have to go find him for a 4th time! Holy fucking shit! I'm gonna put a balloon in my urethra and blow it up until it pops! You've gotta be fucking me in my ass! This is so fucking retarded. And you're telling me he makes no sound cues either? This is actually the most heinous, disgusting, degradable dog shit I've ever seen in my entire life. You thought Mario from Late Shift at Nintendo World was bad? Holy shit! You are not even close to ready for this piece of fuck shit. And I'm not even done yet with how bullshit this mechanic really is. Foxy can teleport to the same camera multiple times in one cycle, which means, oh, you find him on camera 3, then he's in camera 6. and then fuck it. Guess what? Now he's back at camera 3. Are you literally raping me right now? Because that's legitimately what it feels like. We need an HR department because I need to file a fucking complaint for sexual harassment 4 times in a row now. All while you have Freddy also trying to vacuum your butthole inside out. This is fucking ridiculous. This is actually the most upset I've ever been playing a FNAF game before. When I learned this is what Foxy did, I got so reasonably upset, I literally stopped playing it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Holy shit, you have no idea how much I was fuming. It was insane. You could have cooked a fucking egg on my forehead. I was so hot and boiling with rage, you don't fucking understand. I want to give you a strategy, but this really just turns into the fucking Foxy game. I guess I could say watch camera 4 the entire night, since Freddy goes through it so you can watch for Foxy leaving and stall Freddy at the same time. But I can give you, because this just turns the game into an RNG fuckfest. But if you manage to beat it, fucking somehow, then we can move on to the post-night minigame. The post-night minigame on night 4 is identical to night 3, no additional mechanics. However, you will notice that Bonnie has taken 16 Adderall and some heroin because he's become the fastest motherfucker on Earth. It's not hard to deal with, just a little bit shocking. Just check behind you once every 2 seconds or so, which is insane to say by the way, and you should be completely fine and able to skip the first 2 hours of my fucking nightmare, night 5.
Let me guess. You guys didn't get him? Oh. Then what happened?
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Did you guys get him?
No.
Oh.
We can't let him get away! Not now! Fritz, how do these suits work?
If your body's stuffed into a certain suit, you can control it.
And Jeremy, where did you find me when I woke up?
In parts and service. Why?
'Cause I've got a plan. Susie, you check for any spare costumes in the back. Everyone else, hop in your suits and follow me. 1 suit, Miss Cassie. Thanks, Susie. Jeremy, where'd you find my body?
Right over there, under those trash bags.
All right. Now I want someone to take my body and stuff it into that costume.
Cassie, are you sure about that? These things are pretty hard to control, let alone jump right into.
Fritz, trust me. I've got a plan.
Well, I ought to tell you, Cassie, you were kinda a mess when I found you.
I've seen a lot. I think I can manage.
All right, Gabe, put the goods in the suit.
Okay, just close your eyes. Okay, you can look now.
I want you guys to try taking that jerk out one more time. If you can't get him by sunrise, then it's my turn.
Cass, do you even know what you're doing?
Don't worry, Jeremy. I'll figure it out. Besides, I've seen enough monster pictures to know how to scare someone. Now's your chance, guys. Go get him. This is for them.
Oh my fucking God. Night 5. The night that takes the RNG and just says, fuck it. Let's crank it up even more because our player doesn't actually want to have fun playing a FNAF game. No, they obviously want the hardest piece of media of all time and for their neck to get bent 85 degrees like Chris Chan's penis. Night 5 seriously takes the difficulty of these characters and cranks it up so astronomically high, you will honestly think it's a different game you're playing. This game is so insane, I can't even describe it to you. These characters attack you so goddamn fast, you quite literally have no breathing room throughout the entirety of the night. But the worst part, truly the part that will make you pour hours of attempts into this night, is once again fucking Foxy, because for some reason, they decided to change up his attack again. For some reason, God only knows what, once you hit 5 a.m. during night 5, Foxy will decide to use both of his attacks. Why? Because fuck you and your father in the face. That's why. If you happen to get attacked by both Bonnie and Foxy at the same time, you quite literally cannot do anything to prevent a loss. You just lose. And losing at 5 a.m. when you've had a night so fucking blood boiling, stressful, and chaotic is one of the worst feelings on the planet we call home. This night is actually just RNG. I've gotten so many comments telling me that it isn't, but nobody can actually explain to me why. Fuck all of you. This night is complete RNG. There's a lot of skill involved, don't get me wrong, but Foxy's main mechanic and his dick-ass synergy with Bonnie at 5 a.m. is quite literally just RNG and nothing else. No amount of skill can make you win when they decide to attack you at the same time. It is not possible. You do not have enough time to deal with Foxy before Bonnie skull fucks you, and you do not have enough time to get rid of Bonnie before Foxy uses you as a toy. It is just not possible, and this night is fucking bullshit. I don't even want to keep talking about it. The strategy is the same as night 4. Stare at camera 4 to stall Freddy and watch Foxy, and just hope to fucking God that once 5 a.m. hits, that Bonnie doesn't decide that now is just the perfect time to attack. And with that, there's no post-night minigame because we just move right into Hell Incarnate, night 6. Holy shit. That was really cool. I'm not even gonna lie. But here we are, night 6, this game's boss fight night. And I'll be completely honest, out of all of the boss fight nights I've played, which trust me, doing this for a living is a lot, this is by far the most difficult boss fight night I have ever played in my entire life. There is only one threat on this night, that being Cassie herself as Yellin' Bear. I'm just gonna call her Cassie though, since that takes a lot less time to write, and I get the feeling I'm gonna be writing it a lot. Cassie has 6 possible fucking attacks that she can do. I'm not fucking with you. 6 attacks in one character. And this bitch is fast, like lightning, like Usain Bolt, like how quickly I scream after peeing hot boiling water because I slept with the trampy girl everyone warned me about. This night is all skill. You need to be fast and you need to be precise or it's completely GG. Let's start with the most basic attack, and really the only one that has any RNG at all. She's an eye slut. Hooray! She will throughout the night randomly teleport to a plethora of cameras. All you have to do is constantly make sure your camera is on her and that you're actively watching her. If not, she's gonna butter you like a biscuit, and this bitch loves biscuits. The second attack is just what Foxy should have stayed. You'll be able to hear a sound cue indicating that she's running down your left hall. Quickly turn around and hold the door closed, and she'll dive into it like I dive into man ass. Pause. Why the fuck did I write that? And then, of course, you'll be able to open the door again. Her third attack is something we haven't seen yet. Throughout the game, you've been able to see 3 large portraits in our office. That middle one will become super important on this night. Occasionally, the big portrait will move throughout the night. When you see it move, you'll have to turn the power off and turn away like with the Freddy attack. This forces you to constantly stop looking at the eye slut on your cameras, which makes her very fucking angry. But like, bro, just stop with the fucking picture and I won't look away. You're causing your own fucking problem, bro! Her fourth attack is simple. She just uses her top hat to act like Carl on your desk. Whoopity dick. Just click on it and it won't kill you. However, just like Carl, while the top hat is super easy to deal with, it's by far one of the easiest things to forget, and is just as annoying as getting my big fat balls stuck in my zipper. Her fifth attack just has her start doing some Looney Tunes ass crazy shit because fuck it, why not? On the sides of your screen, she'll somehow spawn the fucking jaws of life and they'll start closing in on you. As if there wasn't enough during this night to stop you from playing the game, these jaws add to just that heaping pile of fuck, forcing you to move your mouse to either side of the screen and click and hold to stop them from eating you. There is seriously so much in this night that takes away from the main goal of watching her on the cameras. It's insane. And her final attack doesn't make her much better whatsoever. Who would have thought? The final attack is literally just fucking annoying with no other purpose. Cassie can randomly switch which camera you're looking at to whichever one she wants to force you to stop looking at her. Meaning that if you don't catch her doing this while you're worried about the fucking hat, the fucking door, the fucking portrait, or the fucking jaws, she will sneak into your rectum and wreak havoc. This night is incredibly difficult. However, it is pretty much all skill. Lock in, hold your breath, stay consistent. If at any point you're not actively doing something during this night, then you will lose. This is a busy night and you need to stay busy the whole time. But if you can manage to keep your cool for long enough, this happens.
What? What? Stupid Uncle Chunk!
Hey, Cass, did you give him the axe?
No! And now we'll never, ever get our chance! Now all we got left of him is his dumb name card!
That wasn't his name.
What?
I can't remember it, but his name definitely wasn't Charlie.
Wait! It's coming back to me! Vance? No! Victor? Huh, it's on the back of my mind!
You're telling me. Look!
So, we almost killed a completely innocent man!
But we didn't! No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Plus, I got some spiffy new duds.
Okay, now let's get out of here. I'm sick of looking at this stupid office.
Hey, where'd everybody go?
Hey, Gabe?
Yeah, Cassie?
Listen. Thank you guys for going through with my harebrained plan. Sorry I wasn't the right guy.
Don't worry about it. It's all right.
I'm gonna find him, though. I'm gonna get the fellow who did this, so you guys can be happy.
Cass, don't worry about that. I've got the others. Now we've got you. We're as happy as we need to be.
Thank you, Gabe.
So yeah, turns out they were attacking an innocent man for no fucking reason other than the fact that kids are stupid. I've been saying this for years, bro. All the more reason to never have one. There is one last small thing I want to talk about. After beating the game, you can go into Charlie's house and read a note from his daughter stating the following.
Yo, Daddy. Mommy told me that you're going to pick me up after school. I can't wait for my birthday tonight. I love you.
Stupid fucking kid can't spell properly. Well, whatever. I'm finally done. But as far as I'm aware, that's all 5 Newfangled Nights has to offer. Overall, I actually love this game. Of course, I hate Foxy, and Night 5 is complete RNG bullshit, but the art style, the humor, the sound design, everything is actually really, really good, and I really like it. And of course, I had a lot of fun dubbing the cutscenes. I hope you guys enjoyed those. Links to the actors and actresses are in the description. Everything about this game is just so charming, except Foxy. It almost feels like a Cuphead meets FNAF type game, and I really like it, and I would totally recommend it. Uniqueness in FNAF games, something that isn't the most common thing in the world. I'm sure as FNAF players, we can all agree that something interesting that we've never seen before coming around is something we don't see all too often. But you better believe we suck it up whenever we get the chance to sink our big meaty claws into it. The game we'll be talking about today is a bit older. Being created 5 years ago, I'm honestly surprised I had never heard of it before, as it truly is one of the most unique FNAF fan games I've ever talked about on this channel, with a unique art style, interesting yet incredibly confusing story, and a mixture of a bunch of different game styles and mechanics. Join me today as we dive into the intricately crafted world of the Freddy Files. The Freddy Files is actually broken up into chapters instead of nights, and from the sounds of it, I'm pretty sure that each chapter of the game is 1 hour of the one night that takes place during this game. Upon starting the game, we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Our character is on the phone with 911, saying that while working, the door to the building closed and locked itself so he can't get out. The dispatcher said the police are on their way, but it will take several hours for them to get there, which, by the way, is bullshit. This restaurant is presumably in a city, or at least a town, so how is it going to take the police hours to get there? Regardless, we still have to finish our shift anyways, so we figure it's not a big deal. The dispatcher makes a point to us to not enter any unauthorized areas, which I personally find weird. And with that, we're spat into the first chapter where we're greeted with some exposition. Fazbear Entertainment started their first business with Fredbear's Family Diner, a successful business that took over the market for 5 years. However, A few months later, a child was known to be murdered by the mascot, Fredbear. Later, 4 other children went missing during the incident as well. The police searched the entire establishment for any signs of the children, but to no avail. The co-worker of the diner did not negotiate either. The case was then closed after a second failed search, April 26th, 1983. And with that, we're ready to begin the chapter. And this is where you'll notice this game is not your typical FNAF game, which is exactly why I wanted to cover it. This game, while yes, has a survival system like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's more of a top-down free roam than anything else. Whoa, what the fuck? Whoa. The point of this first chapter is to unlock a door that we're not supposed to unlock. It's an unauthorized area, so I have no idea why we're doing this despite the dispatcher literally just telling us not to. This chapter serves as an escape room, which I actually really like. And of course, there are some threats that are trying to stop us from completing it. So let's talk about those 2 guys first. The first threat introduced in this chapter is Golden Freddy. His mechanic is very simple. As you can see, we are equipped with a flashlight and a fear meter. If our flashlight is off, our fear meter will slowly increase. With the light on, the fear will go back down. So keeping this light on is obviously something we're going to want to do. Golden Freddy directly counters that. He's a ghost character that moves through walls, and he's very fast. If you ever see Golden Freddy near you, you need to shut off your flashlight and make sure he doesn't run into you by dodging out of the way. If he touches you, you're obviously dead. Something I do want to note that I don't really like about this section, and Golden Freddy specifically, there is a lot of reading in this game, mainly in the form of just interacting with things. And Golden Freddy will still be active while you're reading something, and you can't turn your flashlight on or off while you have a dialogue box up. So be prepared to die very frequently because of poor timings like this. What on earth? It's a key. Whatever hide it in here. Doesn't open the door. But fuck, dude! Can't do that while I'm fucking reading. The second threat introduced here is Shadow Freddy.
I'm Shadow Freddy, I'm so awesome and black. I'm black. I got white eyes, I'm black, I'm Shadow Freddy.
Shadow Freddy, while being awesome and black, is a much more stressful character to deal with as he's a lot more random. Occasionally, you will hear him growl. When you do, you'll notice that your fear will start increasing even if your flashlight is on. This signals to you that you need to go find him somewhere in the building that he'll teleport to at random. When you find him, all you need to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll go away, wherein your fear will start to decrease again. Now, these 2 together, in all honesty, are not that difficult to deal with. So let's talk about what exactly we have to do to open that stuck door. To start, near the stage you'll find a vent. Interacting with it will tell you that something is inside, but you can't reach it. Moving down to the kitchen, inside you'll find a safe that requires a code that we don't have. Just outside of the kitchen are some random planks and sticks for some reason. Using one of the sticks, we can go back over to the vent and fish out the item, which we find is a key. This key, unfortunately, doesn't unlock the door, but it does unlock something else. Moving down to the office, inside there is a locked box. Using the key we got from the vent, we can open it. Inside, there are several animatronic heads, but more importantly, there's a remote. Using this remote, we can turn on the monitor in our office, which will then display the code to the safe. Now, obviously, I could ask several questions as to why things are happening the way they are. Why was there wood on the floor? Why was there a key in a vent? Why was the remote to the TV locked in a box? Why does the TV just have the code to a safe? But this is clearly just a puzzle escape room game, so weird shit like this is just kind of par for the course. Continuing, now knowing the code, we input it into the safe and get a hammer. Using this hammer, we figure we can break the locked door down, so we head over to do exactly that. And that's when we're thrown into a much more FNAF feeling minigame. During this minigame, we obviously have to break down the door. However, Golden Freddy will be attacking us the entire time. While we pound on the door, he will slowly approach us from behind to beat on our bottom. Occasionally, we'll have to turn around and hold our flashlight on him to make him back up into the darkness. I personally found that pounding on the door 15 times is the most you can do to stay safe without Golden Freddy golden showering you. Do this enough times and the door will open, and we see the following cutscene. So yeah, we stumble upon the body of 3 of the dead children. Truly gruesome. However, I also have to ask why there quite literally is nothing inside of this massive room. Who knows? We reflect on what we saw and realize that 4 kids went missing, yet we only saw 3. Before we can think about it more, we hear the rest of the characters in the building activate. And knowing our lives are about to get a lot more difficult, we can move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 moves much more into a typical FNAF game. When we load in, we find ourselves in an office. We know from the last chapter that all of the characters have activated, so now we have to hunker down and defend ourselves. So let's go over the tools at our disposal. To start, if we turn around, we'll find our cameras. They're just cameras. Nothing crazy to talk about here. Turning back in front of us is where things start to matter. To start, you'll notice on the left and right doors, we'll be able to set off an alarm system. When you use these alarms, your computer's RAM will increase. Now, unlike actual computer RAM, once you stop using the alarm, the RAM usage will not go back down, which again, doesn't make any sense because that's not how RAM works, but whatever. What you have to do is manually delete the RAM by holding the delete RAM button on your monitor. That doesn't really make sense, but it's clear the dev isn't very tech savvy, but that's okay. Also on our monitor are 2 more alarms, Alarm 15 and Alarm 24. We're not going to worry about Alarm 24 right now. Alarm 15 is an alarm that plays directly in front of you. The phone guide describes this area of the building as outside, so I'm imagining it's literally a window to outside of the building. You just can't tell because it's dark as fuck. Same with the other 2 alarms, it will also increase your RAM usage. Now let's talk about the threats this chapter introduces. Fun fact, there's 3 of them: Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. I'm going to talk about Bonnie and Chica at the same time since they do the exact same thing. They will try to make it to either of your doors respectively. Bonnie attacks the left, Chica attacks the right. Once they enter your office, they will quite literally be directly in your fucking face, with their rank-ass breath searing your nose hairs. All you have to do is hold the alarm on whichever side they went to, and they will quickly leave. But there is one other path they both can take as well, and that's to the window in front of you. When they're out there, play Alarm 15 and they will return right to outside of your door, where they will then soon enter your office, giving you little time to delete RAM between those moments. Freddy is the final threat introduced in this chapter, and he works much the same as Bonnie and Chica, with one major change that honestly makes him easier than the other 2 we've talked about already. When he enters your office, he'll stand directly in front of you, so you can actually play the alarm on either side and he will leave. The only other change he has from Bonnie and Chica is that you have to play the alarm on him for a lot longer. Just like them, he can also go to the window, but the same rules apply to him. Chapter 2 is really just an introduction night, and despite the fact that you can see Foxy on stage, he never activates, which really means you never have to check the cameras throughout this entire chapter. And on top of that, since Foxy didn't activate and we never used Alarm 24, something tells me that Chapter 3 will also be taking place in this office, so let's move on to that. So, turns out we're actually not on a Chapter 3 quite yet. If you remember at the start of Chapter 2, we saw 12 a.m. Well, at the beginning of this next section, we see 1 a.m., which would mean we're still currently in Chapter 2. This hour is back to the top-down gameplay we saw in Chapter 1. This time around, we see our character get absolutely fucking bodied by some random guy. Oh my god, oh dear lord. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's dead as fuck. He's dead as disco, bro. Dead as shit. He's Dunyan rings. In the note we get on this night, he says he kidnapped us to play a game, and we'll be playing with some minions. Fantastic. The gameplay of this night has us unlocking a door, which takes forever. Seriously, look at this. Oh my god. Really? So yeah. That's a lot of fun. While this is happening, we'll have to constantly be checking the doors to our left and our right. Going up to them, we can listen for growling. If we hear growling, all we have to do is run to the closet in the middle of the office and hide until they go away. However, if we stay in the closet for too long, we'll be killed by another character. Why am I getting raped from all angles today, huh? After we fully unlock the door, I fully expected this section to come to an end, but no. Not quite. Instead, we get thrown into a fucking Shadow Freddy boss fight. What the fuck? Whoa. What the fuck? Boss. And unironically, this boss fight is better than the only boss fight in Heartbound. But let's be honest, that's not very hard to beat. You'll have to dodge these little colored things, not really sure what the hell they're supposed to be, and then he'll start throwing pizzas at you, which are super not fun to dodge. These stupid pizzas were actually the only thing I took damage to in my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. And finally, he drops these things. I don't know what they are. At first I thought olives, but then I thought about it and that doesn't make any sense. Comment down below if you know what these things are. But after you complete the fight, you'll find the body of the child who supposedly possessed Freddy, and he bleeds on the floor, which would imply to me that the kid was alive and we just killed the fucking child. If that's the case, does that mean we're clinically insane? Maybe so. We learned that we were never allowed to tell the police about the missing kids because he brought us here? Or something? I'm not totally sure why we can't tell the police. My only guess is something along the lines of it'll look like we killed them all. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I'm sure we'll learn plenty more. For now, let's continue. Now we move on to the next section of this game. We're still in chapter 2, except now it's 1:30 a.m. That's right, we're really splitting this game up into as many pieces as we can, and I'm all for it. Unfortunately, there's literally nothing interesting for me to talk about during this section. We're back in the office area, except literally nothing has changed since the first time we played this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica move slightly faster, but nothing new is actually introduced. So let's move on to 2 a.m. 2 a.m. actually marks the beginning of Chapter 3, which means we have something interesting to talk about. We learn that the building got shut down due to it being disgusting as fuck. Food all over the floor, little kid throw up down the backs of the robots, all the nasty shit. During this section, we play as a temporary janitor, so I guess we just have all the fucking jobs now, huh? Something you'll notice about this night as we talk about it is that even though, yes, we are a janitor, literally no cleaning happens whatsoever. Instead, all we do is fix a fucking elevator. As that would suggest, this section of the game takes place in an elevator. Our goal is to get to floor 5, but in order to do that, we first have to connect each floor to like a mainframe or something. I have no fucking idea, just roll with it. All this section consists of is basically looking at this fucking screen until this bar makes it to this square. Once it does, press the green button on the elevator to move to the next floor. Of course, it's not just that, as there is a threat trying to eat our butts the entire time. That threat being Withered Bonnie. I'm not going to dive into the possible reason as to why we see normal Bonnie during the next sections and Withered Bonnie now. Maybe we're not playing as the same character, maybe this section takes place during a different time, or fuck it, maybe Bonnie just took his fucking face off. Who really cares? While you're connecting the elevator, Bonnie will slowly get closer and closer to you. Once he gets too close, all you have to do is close the elevator door until you hear him back off. Then go back to doing what you were doing. While the door is closed, it will drain power, but considering you only have to close the door on Bonnie for like 4 seconds, there is literally no way you're running out of power during this section. After reaching floor 5, we get a cutscene. Our character walks past an assembly line and finds the puppet's gift box. On it, we find a note that tells us to meet in the alley of Fredbear's Family Diner, signed by the puppet herself. What the fuck is going on? Why did the puppet leave this note here? Why did she know that we were going to be here? And why not just meet me to talk to me at this place since you already know I would be here? Who knows? But I'm sure we'll find out as we continue. Speaking of, let's do that. Here we are, back into the office section of the game, where this time Foxy is actually finally activated. Really should have happened last night, but we'll roll with it. Let's talk about what he does, as even though he is super basic, he's still the most interesting of the characters so far. Foxy can attack both your left and right door, much like Freddy, except Foxy actually takes advantage and turns it into an actual mechanic, unlike Freddy. Foxy too can appear at your window, except the main difference with him is that we're told he can only hear the frequency of alarm 24. So finally, we have a use for this alarm. It works in the exact same way as alarm 15 and will just send him back. The real difference with Foxy is how he attacks your door. Unlike every other character, he won't ever enter your office, so he finally gives our camera a use after 2 nights of never needing to turn around. You'll have to watch the cameras next to your office to tell which side Foxy is going to attack. When you see him enter either one of these cameras, you'll have to use the alarm on that side of the office and he'll leave. However, you may have noticed something weird when I explained that, and I'm thinking the same thing. The alarm that plays when you use it on the doors is the exact same alarm as alarm 15, yet it scares away Foxy. But the phone guy told us that Foxy can't hear alarm 15, so like, what the fuck is even going on? This makes no sense whatsoever. Just wanted to point out that little inconsistency. There's nothing else to talk about on this night, so we can move on to the next chapter. Chapter 4 puts us back into the top-down 8-bit minigame style, something I was pretty excited to see. This section acts kind of like a puzzle section, and I say kind of because there's also quite a bit that isn't puzzles. To start, all we have to do is push 2 levers, getting scared as fuck by a shadow at the same time. Maybe I can open this. Oh no, that opened up this side, okay. Oh my god! What the fuck was that? Then we have to press 2 buttons to open a gate. But I'm not kidding you, this is quite possibly one of the tightest timings I've ever seen in my life. Pressing these 2 buttons on the timer you have to press them in is borderline frame perfect. Really made my penis hurt trying to pull this off. However, after doing so, it opens another gate with some levers to pull a certain number of times to open another gate. To figure out the code, we have to do some basic mental math. But for someone like me who sucks ass at mental math, this part took me much longer to beat than it should have, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Afterwards, we continue and have to do another even more bullshit double button press timing. This one is absolutely brutal. I can't even lie to you. Got it. Fucking A. That's ass. That opens another gate and we find the marionette. Upon walking closely, we start a conversation. We learn that we're playing as Henry, as the puppet refers to us as her father. There's a whole lot of fucking yapping here, but she basically tells him that William is killing kids again and that a new establishment is opening. The plan is to tamper with the animatronics so that Michael then tampers with them, causing them to attack William, and then William will go to take them apart, wherein he'll be forced into the suit and die, and then we'll burn down the building with everyone inside. So really just the FNAF storyline, but that's our plan. Finally, we're thrown into a midnight motorist minigame for some reason. I'm really not sure why, but it's long as fuck. And from what I could see, there was no secret way to go to juniors like there is in the original. We end by getting some dialogue from Henry and nervous about what he should do and what will happen if he goes along with the plan. And with that, we move on to the next night section that's probably going to make me fall asleep. With 3:30 rolling around, it's time for us to move on to the next night section. And believe it or not, there's actually something new that gets added this time around. That being Golden Freddy. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. We get a phone call from Golden Freddy this time around. He says he loves playing with us. So it seems that the atmosphere has taken an unfortunate sexual turn, but we have to roll with it. Golden Freddy's mechanic is so simple, yet easily the most annoying one we've seen yet. All he'll do is at random appear right in front of you. When he does, all you need to do is turn around and he'll leave. You might be wondering how that would ever become a challenge under any circumstance. Well, that's where we need to start talking about the rest of the character's AI being ramped up to the fucking moon during this section, because it's insane. The rest of the characters during this night move around so quickly and will be in your office almost at all times, meaning that your RAM usage is going to be through the roof for the first time throughout your playthrough. And who's going to be there to interrupt you while trying to get the animatronics out of your office and trying to get your RAM down? Golden Freddy will be there. That's who, at all times, to make sure your blood is boiling as much as possible. No 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 no. Bonnie, go away, bro! I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. I'm getting double teamed. Fuck! 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 Oh my god, 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 oh my fucking god. Oh my god, my RAM is so fucking high. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, fuck. But that's really all this section has to offer. Really did a 180 in terms of difficulty, and I like it a lot considering the other sections of this game have been so piss easy I was able to film them half asleep. Chapter 5 gets a little confusing as I started to become aware that we are likely switching between the POVs of 2 different characters and have been throughout the game. It seems like we know we've been playing as Henry several times, and we're doing so during this section as well. But if we're playing as Henry during this section, then it must mean we're not playing as Henry during the repeating night sections. To start, this night begins with a note telling us that Fazbear's is closing after the rumors about the missing children. We all know how this goes. What gets weird is that during this section, which keep in mind is 5 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., we have to play through an entire night from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., which means that this section of the game has to have happened at a different time. We know that Henry's plan is to plant sound chips in the robots so that Michael tampers with them. Then he'll fire Michael. William will dismantle the robots and then free them or something. I don't know, it's a bit confusing, and I'm more than a bit dumb. Let's actually talk about what we have to do during this section and why I actually shouldn't be explaining it to you because I'm not even sure what I did. Basically, we have 2 doors to our left and right that we can close. Doing so drains our power. Throughout this night, all of the 4 characters will attempt to get into our office to void us of our insides, which is just not something we're looking forward to. When they get to the door, you'll hear fast footsteps. All you have to do is hold the door closed until you hear slow footsteps. However, if that's all you'll do, the characters will be at your door too frequently and you'll run out of power. So that's where the PC in front of us comes in handy. Using it, we can do 2 things. The first is scanning the entire building to see where the threats are at, and the second is an audio lure that you can play in any room. Let me be completely open and honest with you guys right here. I have no fucking idea the proper way to use these lures. Every time you do an action on the PC, you have to wait 6 seconds for the tools to refresh. At first, I thought I should spam lure one central area to get everyone in one spot and keep them there. But apparently, that's bad, as I was told from a tip after dying. So then, I'm not gonna lie, I just started spamming the audio lure all through a bunch of different rooms and random areas, and doing that just worked. Oh, hey, look at that. That was kinda tough. I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know what I was doing with the audio lure. I really wish I could provide a strategy here, but I really can't. I'm guessing I just got lucky because there was literally no critical thinking coming from my head during this section. But with that, surviving until 6 a.m. will complete this half-hour section of the overall game. Again, I said this part is confusing as fuck. Henry mentions the plan to kill William is almost ready, and at least I'm pretty sure William's saying it because this cutscene starts with I am. But at the same time, a few lines later, the person talks about finding more pages, which sounds like something our non-Henry player was doing, so I literally have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm really just here to talk about the gameplay, so let's do that instead and continue. Moving on to 4:30, we've got yet another typical night section to talk about. And I can't lie to you, not much to say here. No new threats are added, but holy shit, do the threats that already exist really start to ramp up. The RNG in this section really starts to show on this night, as I would have a character at my window, at my door, down my pants, in my dick, pretty much constantly, which gave me almost no time to ever delete the RAM. It took me only 2 attempts to beat this section, but the insane contrast between how aggressive they were on the first attempt versus the second is drastic and should not be overlooked. This was some crazy bullshit, but once again, nothing new is actually introduced, so we can move on to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is by far probably the most interesting one we've talked about so far. It begins with a cutscene, one that should be all too familiar to us as FNAF fans. So just for you guys, fuck talking about it, let's take a look at it together.
So, this is it. It's time to end what William has done. It's time to end their suffering. Those little souls trapped in this labyrinth. I've gathered them up in here, and I can finally destroy them. I've found the ones that have yet to be destroyed and set free. For instance, those little children, the ones that come together as a group on a daily basis. I've always wanted to see them every single day. They'd always brighten up the atmosphere in Circus Baby's Pizza World. Every day, they'd come to play with all of the animatronics. Every employee, employer, and manager knew the name of those 3. But ever since William made his poor design choices, things were never going in the right direction for them. On the very next day, they all disappeared. I'd never realized that William could create such abominations. I realized there was a reason why Funtime Freddy had a huge tank. It was quite obvious. And no wonder the other 2 were always active every now and then. Not to mention Circus Baby. She was brought outside on the first day and was forced to stay inside the next day. It's such a misery, to be honest. I wasn't the only one who saw Circus Baby capture Elizabeth. Now, her soul is trapped inside of her. I wouldn't forget my daughter as well. No more shall I let her suffer as one of William's creations. This place is where everything shall end. A maze with no exit, a labyrinth with no prize. They don't even realize they are trapped. For some of them, I believe there is peace and perhaps more. Although, for you, William, the darkest pit of hell is ready to swallow you whole. You will keep burning and burning along with the creations of your own. This is where the story ends. For my daughter, the other innocent children, and William, this ends for all of us. End communication.
God, it doesn't matter how many times I hear the FNAF 6 Henry speech. Every single time I hear it, it gives me chills. Easily one of the best monologues in gaming history, right up there with the definition of insanity speech from Voss. Try to find a better speech. I fucking dare you. Anyways, on to what we actually have to do during this section after that cutscene. Well, it's very weird, to say the least. In it, we play as the puppet, wandering through a dark forest. Scattered around are the 5 souls of the missing children, each with a color above their head. We know that at this point, we're playing as Charlie, Henry's daughter, obviously. After a bit of searching, we're told to find all of the magic to set them free. Hidden around the forest are several weird magic orbs. After collecting 3, we can begin to set the children free. We do so by finding 5 colored cupcakes around the map, and taking each colored cupcake to its respective colored child. Pause. That sounds terrible. Anyways, after doing so, we hear from Henry again. He thanks his daughter for saving the children, boasts about William finally being gone. He mentions he has all the Freddy files.
He said it! He said it!
And with that, we're ready to move on to the final part of our shift, wherein after we should hopefully have the cops arrive. Because if you recall, that's literally the first thing we did. Call the police, and they're somehow still not here yet, which is completely crazy, I will add. But who cares? Let's move on to the final shift. And here we are at the final chapter of the game. What's new to talk about in this final section? A cool final boss fight night? No, it's nothing new. Same shit, different day, really. But what is interesting is what happens afterwards. Henry arrives at some door. I assume it's the door to the building. He says way too much shit nobody cares about. Like deadass, he talks for so fucking long. Bro just recaps the whole game. It was so fucking boring, I'm not even gonna put you guys through it. Point is, he collected all the Freddy files, which helped him remember what William did or something, and now William's dead. Cool. Children are free. Great. Now all we have left to do is stop Fazbear Entertainment from ever coming back. How is he going to do that? Well, lucky us, that's not our fucking problem to figure out, because Henry opens the doors and the credits roll and the Freddy files comes to a close. Wait. Hold up. Freeze frame. What about the cops? Do we not remember that this game began with a phone call to the police? Where the fuck are they? Were we Henry the entire time? Or are we jumping back and forth between 2 people? And if we were Henry the entire time, where the fuck are the cops? Why did we call them if we ended up leaving the building by ourselves anyways? What the fuck is going on? Also, if that wasn't a big enough of a fuck you, this game actually still isn't done. After the credits finish rolling, the fucking creator of the game starts talking to us and goes on a whole fucking monologue about having to do a whole bunch of shit to do something. I have no fucking idea. I was hardly paying attention. Basically, we have to go back to an earlier chapter with a locked door, find a key, open the door, but not before going to another chapter where we typed in a code and instead type in his name. Whose name? I have no fucking clue. Then open the door, go to another chapter to a room that we never did anything in, find another key or something, then play 4 minigames in the extras menu, but do something specific in them to find a key in all 4, then go to the survival mode of the game, which isn't even made, by the way. Click the bottom of the screen on an invisible fucking button, then you're teleported to a room with 4 keyholes and a door. Put the 4 keys from the minigame in the holes, unlock the door, and then fucking something happens. Do I have any idea what happens? No, not at all. Well, luckily for us, I found a guy that actually did it. Shout out to Tanzi Natali for actually doing all this bullshit so that I didn't have to. Basically, there's a final boss fight with a character named Null, and it's just like a bullet hell, except shitty. Then the creator talks to us again. Apparently, the creator of the game inserted himself into the game as the Red Freddy, who apparently isn't even Golden Freddy, it's just the fucking developer. He says he can like change the AI of everything or something. Guys, I'm gonna be so honest, I just don't fucking give a shit. If you guys are curious as to what happened after the Null fight, go watch Tonsi's video about it. Holy shit, I just don't fucking care. But that's all the Freddy Files has to offer. Overall, I do think this game is actually pretty cool. I love the idea of mixing in night sections with the little mini games, and even though lore-wise this game is a confusing clusterfuck, I think from a gameplay standpoint, it was still pretty cool. Even if the gameplay is easy as fuck, at least there's something different to do all the time. Also, the pixel art style is super charming, so that's nice too. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game actually has no flaws whatsoever and is actually the best FNAF experience ever made? I've been covering FNAF games for quite a while, and every time I find a super unique game, I think to myself, there's no way any other FNAF game is going to be able to top that in creativity. But then, like clockwork, I find another one, and the game we'll be talking about today is no different. The game we'll be looking at today is called FNAF Showtime, a game made with Godot and is completely 3D, with hands down the most unique mechanic I've ever seen in a FNAF game before, and I can guarantee you've never seen anything like it either. So strap in as we dive into the exceptionally difficult world of FNAF Showtime. Jumping right into night one, there's plenty to talk about. To start, we don't actually just get booted directly into the office. Instead, we start at the entrance and can actually freely roam around the building to get a feel for our surroundings, which I always think is really nice. The layout of the building is incredibly different from any other FNAF game I've ever played, with the office being directly in the center of the building. This game consists of 9 cameras, and I mention that number for a very specific reason I'll mention later. Walking around the building, we stumble into the main dining room and can get a glance at single-handedly the most uncomfortable animatronics I legitimately think I've ever seen. These things are rancid and disgusting. They got the British treatment with their teeth, too. That's nasty. What the fuck? Oh my. Look at that pot belly, bro. Dude, that cheek is nasty. That cheek is actually so gross. I don't like it at all. I don't think any kid would want to come to a restaurant with the characters looking like this. Anyways, moving to our office, we can talk about the tools we have at our disposal. And strap in because this might just be the most creative and horrifying FNAF game we've ever covered. In Showtime, you're stuck in the cameras once you start the night. You can never drop them, which means you can never close your doors. Not that that's an issue anyways, as both of the entrances to your office don't even have doors. This is where those 9 cameras I mentioned become super important. Your cameras are controlled by your keyboard, not your mouse, using the keys Q, W, E, A, S, D, Z, X, and C. If you take a look at the cameras, you'll be able to see which letter correlates to each camera. This is a system that took me very long to get used to, but it's actually super cool. Now, when it comes to looking around the cameras, Showtime isn't like most FNAF games. The cameras don't pan back and forth by themselves. Instead, you're in charge of manually controlling the cameras using your mouse, and you have full control of the cameras, being able to point them in literally any direction you want, which I think is really cool. You'll even notice that there's a camera in your office and you can actually see yourself at your desk. But if we can't leave the cameras and there's no way to close the doors, how are we supposed to defend ourselves from the threats this game introduces? That is an amazing question. But before we answer it, let's talk about the 2 threats this night introduces. Night 1 introduces both Bonnie and Chica. I'm going to be talking about them at the same time since they both behave in the same way. Obviously, their goal is to reach your office, so that's exactly what they'll do. Something I really like about this game is you can always watch them move around the building. They don't have just one static frame for each camera. As this game is a 3D environment, the characters actually do roam around. Now, onto how to defend yourself. Well, your camera is equipped with the ability to reset the animatronics and force them to go back to where they started. And how do you activate this? Well, let's just say I hope you guys have been practicing aim labs because you're gonna need it. By holding left click, you can shoot a signal out of the camera where the crosshair is pointing. If you see Bonnie or Chica anywhere on the map, aim the crosshair at their head and hold down left click. Do this for long enough and a little jingle will play and their eyes will glow yellow, signaling that they will return to their starting location. Is that not like the coolest shit you've ever seen? I've never seen anything like that in a FNAF game before. I love it when fan devs try something new, and I think this one really nailed it, because this makes this game incredibly stressful. And that's for one main reason. You'll notice that there are a bunch of employee-only doors all around the building, and that's for a good reason. If the characters could only come from one area, it'd be way too easy to just camp their spawn points. So, when a character goes into attack mode, they will appear from literally any of the employee doors around the entire map. They can start in the main dining room, they can start in the entrance, the two party rooms, Pirates Cove, the arcade. It doesn't matter. They can come from anywhere, needing you to constantly be monitoring everything and listening for footsteps to see where the characters are going to come from. It is hard to put into words just how cool and creative this mechanic is. Nope. Get the fuck back in there, dude. I want nothing to do with you. This is gonna be fun. This one's gonna be fun, dude. Holy shit. These characters move around a lot, so you will have to be tracking their heads constantly, which I personally think is really fun. And I think it's absolutely terrifying when you hear a character's footsteps, but you can't quite tell which room they're coming from. That mad dash looking around the cameras to try and find them in time really adds to the tension this game builds. Dude, where are they going? I cannot keep track of these guys for shit, dude. And it's only going to get crazier and more difficult as we continue. So let's move on to Night 2. Night 2 only adds one new threat to the game, and that threat is Foxy. Honestly, not that big of a deal when compared to the other characters and their bullshit. Foxy is very simple. He stays in Pirates Cove the entire game. He'll slowly move through different phases before charging at your office. Throughout the night, just make sure you're shooting him to reset his position, and he really shouldn't be an issue at all. No, where the challenge of this game comes into play is Bonnie and Chica, and the awkwardness of aiming and resetting them, as a lot of the time it feels very unresponsive. One of the strategies I came up with was at the start of the night, pointing all of the cameras at every possible place where the animatronics can come from. That way I can watch all 9 of them at once and see which characters come from which doors. And this would be the perfect strategy, except for 2 main problems. Let's start with the smaller issue. But don't get it twisted, it's still a pretty big issue. The characters move very quickly when they're walking. That by itself isn't a problem. What is a problem is the inconsistent amount of time it takes to send the characters back. Sometimes when you shoot them to reset, you only have to hold the mouse down for 3 seconds, and other times you have to hold it for upwards of 8 seconds. This massive inconsistency makes it very difficult to deal with the characters properly. But now onto the much bigger issue, which I admit is partially a skill issue on my end, but it also shows one of the game's flaws. An animatronic can be in a room. No shit. However, if you're looking at a character in a room from a camera that is not in the same room, you will not be able to reset them, even if you can clearly see them and have your crosshair directly on them. I think this is a problem. As mentioned earlier, it can take several seconds to send these characters back. And they're very fast, so they will be switching cameras frequently. And you'll have to match what cameras they're going to constantly, since you can't reset them from the room that the camera isn't in, even if you see them. The part where this is a skill issue is, I haven't been able to learn the map perfectly, to know off the top of my head how all of the rooms are attached. When you control the direction of each camera, and there's 9 of them, it will very quickly become incredibly disorienting to even figure out which area of the building you're in, let alone track 2 characters that are constantly walking around all the time. Again, this specific part is a skill issue for sure, but I do think my previous point is an actual problem. Hey, got my fucking aimbot on, bro. What the fuck? This is cheating. Bonnie's cheating. The fuck, where is he? Oh shit. Dude. Where the fuck is he? What the fuck? Dude, where the fuck was he? I could not find his ass. The fuck he go to, bitch? But with that out of the way, let's move on to Night 3. Night 3 is actually a doozy, guys, I can't lie. While no new threat is introduced, an entire new mechanic is implemented that makes this game extraordinarily harder than you could ever imagine. What is that mechanic, you ask? Well, let me tell you, pretty much Satan. Now, at specific times throughout the night, all of the lights to the building will be turned off for at least 1 in-game hour, sometimes longer, making it incredibly fucking difficult to see anything. So difficult that through my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I actually had to change my graphics settings to make it easier for me to see, because there's no way in hell I would have completed this otherwise. However, there is something I want to praise this game for when it comes to introducing this mechanic, as thankfully it didn't just drop it directly on your forehead like I do with babies. Instead, it makes the early half of the night incredibly easy. While the phone guy is talking to you and the lights are on, only Foxy and Chica will be active, making it very easy for the first 2 in-game hours. Once 2 a.m. strikes, the power goes out for the first time, and it will come back on at 3 a.m. During this time, still only Foxy and Chica are active, and Chica will really only attack 1, maybe 2 times at most. Only after the lights come back on at 3 a.m. will Bonnie become active and start attacking. Once again at 4 a.m. the power will turn back off, wherein it will never turn back on for the remaining 2 hours of the night. So you get time to get a feel for the lights being off by only having to deal with Chica, who moves far slower than Bonnie does, and then they ease you into dealing with both of them at the same time. I think this is such a good way of introducing such a debilitating mechanic. It doesn't feel like this game is just prying open my asshole and filling it with its saliva. It's properly teaching the mechanic without directly making you feel like it's teaching you. This is a perfect execution of a mechanic like this, and as much as I hate the lights going out, this game made me hate it probably as little as I possibly could hate it, which I think is pretty cool. But with that new AIDS out of the way, let's move on to Night 4. Night 4 is an interesting night, and another night that really shows off how wonderful this game is at introducing mechanics to you. With me just talking about how well the light function was introduced, this night has a brand new character so heinous, yet the developer was able to introduce them in a nice way, or at least as nice as possible considering how much this guy sucks. Night 4 introduces Freddy, the big kahuna himself. The role he plays is both very simple and the most terrifying at the exact same time. His goal is, of course, to get into your office. However, the way he does so is what makes him so scary. Unlike Bonnie and Chica, who wander around the building and then enter your office, when Freddy appears from a door, he will make a beeline directly for your office with no stops along the way. And Freddy is fast. Very, very fast. Freddy's music will start playing during the times he can attack. During the music, you'll hear him laugh. When he does laugh, that's how you'll know when he's about to open a door. So you'd better drop everything you're doing to focus on him, because once he exits one of the doors, you have approximately 6 seconds to deal with him before he starts digging in your butt. Now, I mentioned they introduced Freddy very nicely. How exactly did they do that? Well, Freddy activates while the lights are off on this night, so that's not very kind. However, during this Freddy attack section, both Bonnie and Chica will not be moving around, so this entire moment is spent focusing on Freddy as you understand how he works. Again, another beautiful execution of a mechanic like this. I dislike when FNAF games introduce a mechanic while everything else is happening with no explanation of how the character works. I think having the player figure it out on their own can be a good thing, but not while everything else is happening at the same time. Wonderful integration, but it makes me very scared for Night 5. Speaking of, let's move on to that. Night 5 overall doesn't add anything new. In general, it's just a much harder version of Night 4, and I'll explain why. Remember how I said that this game did a really good job of teaching the Freddy mechanic? Yeah, well on Night 5, let's just say they're not so nice. There are 2 blackouts on Night 5. The first is very kind. It lasts 60 seconds and consists only of Freddy, just like Night 4. That made me think for a moment, just a moment, this game was about to be very kind. But boy, was I wrong. The second blackout happens at 5 a.m. and runs throughout the final hour. During this final blackout, all 4 of the characters are active, and it's by far the most stressful section this game has ever had. I was skilled and based enough to beat it on my second attempt, but that's only because I'm literally the hunky chiseled god. 2 additional things to talk about on this night. The first is that it reveals another Freddy mechanic. That being, he can attack while the lights aren't out as well, except there is a big difference. Something you'll notice about Bonnie and Chica is that Bonnie is significantly faster than Chica is. During the lights out sections, Freddy will be Bonnie's speed, which is why he's so scary. But while the lights are on, Freddy will move at Chica's speed, still making him a big threat since he goes right for your office, but also makes him easier to deal with. The last thing I want to talk about before we continue is Golden Freddy. During my playthrough of Night 5, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I actually had Golden Freddy appear. He appears in your office, and I didn't dare look at him with the office camera, but you can see I was looking at him through one of the party rooms. But with that, that's all Night 5 has to offer. I assumed there would be some form of cutscene after completing it, but no, I was not so lucky. Instead, we're just thrown right into Night 6, where I'm sure we'll have just a perfect happy-go-lucky time. So turns out it wasn't actually a Night 6. Upon walking to your desk to start the night, you're greeted to the extra screen where you can play any of the previous nights again, do a custom night, a real-time night, and do 5 unique challenges. So as far as we're concerned, that's all FNAF Showtime has to offer. I'm just kidding. Of course we're going to talk about the challenge modes. So let's quickly go over the first and most boring one of them all, Blackout. As the name suggests, the entire night has the power out. So say hello to Usain Bolt Freddy pile driving your rear from the back for the entire night. Not a very interesting challenge mode, but definitely a challenge mode nonetheless. The next challenge is called Find the Cupcakes, my personal favorite challenge mode, and you'll never guess what it is we have to do on this night. Throughout the cameras, 10 cupcakes will be hidden. All you have to do is find each of them and reset them to collect them. The only threat active on this night is Chica, which makes sense since it is her cupcake, but I do feel it makes this challenge far too easy. I think having all the characters active but at lower AI values would make this challenge much more interesting. This next challenge we're going to talk about is very, very evil. Like, think of the most evil thing you could possibly imagine, right? Think about it. Think of its shadow, right? Start with like a shadow, just got like a shadow ball, and now mold that shadow. Put it between your fingers, let it slide like you're making some clay bowl in art class in 5th grade, right? Shape it into the most annoying, fucking terrifying piece of garbage you can possibly think of. Is the shadow you molded the shape of Balloon Boy? Because if it is, you guessed this challenge night perfectly. This challenge is called Camera Problems, and I bet you can take a perfect guess as to what that means. During this night, while all characters are active, Balloon Boy will occasionally, and very frequently I might add, cause one of the cameras to break. When he breaks a camera, he himself will be present in the room of that camera and you'll have to reset him. But how do you do that if you can't access the camera? Well, you'll have to find him in that room from another camera and reset him through that one. And Balloon Boy, we all know him, is just an asshole. Piece of shit, smelly ass, goofy ass, shitty ass, pissy ass, farty ass, sharty ass, stupid ass, dumb ass, bitch ass, dunce ass, fuck ass boy. This is an incredibly difficult challenge, and I love that a new character was created specifically for it. I think that's really cool. The next challenge is called Above and Below, and did something I would have never expected. All it does is add a brand new character alongside all of the other ones we've already been having to deal with, that character being Mangle, who is by far the most terrifying character of them all. You'll notice that above each employee door, you'll also find a vent. These vents are where Mangle comes from. And the challenge for Mangle comes from both her being on the ceiling and by being the fastest character in the entire game, even outspeeding Bonnie and Freddy. That's all this challenge is, but holy shit, Mangle is so fucking fast and it makes this challenge one of the hardest. But I still don't think it's quite harder than Balloon Boy's. The next challenge is called Divided Attention, and you'll be able to guess exactly what this night is going to offer the moment you load into it. That being the fact that you can hear a music box, and if you check the prize corner, you'll see a small music box on the counter. That's right! This challenge just adds another fucking Foxy to constantly look after. Isn't that just fucking amazing? Yeah, needless to say, I'd like to move on as fast as possible. But with that, that's all of the challenges that FNAF Showtime has to offer. And overall, I think FNAF Showtime is an incredible game. Even though there are only 4 characters throughout the main night sections, this game proves to be one of the most difficult I've ever played. Learning how to track the characters and prioritizing them is exceptionally difficult, but it's so cool. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game is just too boring to be worth a Dxtr White video? Let me know in the comments below. I asked you guys what got you into FNAF, and my favorite comment was everybody who said Markiplier, because that's exactly what got me into FNAF as well when I was just a little child. The question of this video is, what is your favorite mechanic from any FNAF fan game ever, and why? With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord link in the description. Thank you to all of my super fan channel members, you guys Boof, Riz, and Aura. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!